Did you see the Kellogg CEO's advice for struggling families this week?
What did he tell?
Last week. So, right now, money's kind of tight.
For a lot of people.
Pretty much everywhere. Mm-hmm. Shit's expensive. Non-controversial statement, right? This guy, the Kellogg CEO, multi-millionaire CEO of one of the largest companies in the world. I'm pretty sure, isn't Kellogg like one of the 6 brands that owns literally everything?
Oh yeah, Kellogg's is very ingrained in the system, like every aspect of food. They're everywhere.
Absolutely interlinked. Nestle.
Like Nestle. Yeah, exactly.
Like
probably
Nestle
also
and Coke.
probably also doing slave labor somewhere.
100%. 100%. But anyway, this guy, Kellogg's, a guy who reasonably will never face struggle ever again, him or his bloodline, said that if you yourself are struggling to maybe make ends meet, put food on the table, put hearty food on the table, that, instead of springing for those fucking chicken breasts, you should start buying Reese's Puffs.
Cereal for dinner, baby.
You should do cereal for dinner.
Oh, my fucking God.
Holy shit, bro. And this guy got on, I think it was MSNBC or like something like that. And he's doing the interview. And he's like, yeah, actually, cereal for dinner is great. Like, it hits nutritional notes, which is just a fucking lie.
Yeah.
It does not. You shouldn't eat Reese's
It's just
Puffs
cereal.
for dinner. Exactly. He's getting on and he's like, yeah, actually, 25% of our sales go to people who do cereal for dinner.
Yeah. And it's crazy because this comes after like a 28% price bump at the beginning of the year for their cereal prices. And then it also comes after their advertisement campaign started with some controversy around it. I think in January, where they rolled out like the Frosted Flakes Tiger, whatever his
Tony
fucking
the
name
Tiger.
is. He came out and he was like, cereal for dinner. And he like did his whole commercial. And people were like, what do you mean?
What the fuck?
And then he goes on MSNBC, whatever fucking broadcast it was, which should be a puff piece for a CEO because it always is. And even the anchor was like, well, really?
Well, that's kind of crazy there, dog.
Actually,
what do you mean? And it's also like cereal. Maybe I'm just always looking at the family size bags whenever I go to buy cereal, but that shit's like $7 a box.
Oh, it is, yeah.
It's absurd. I feel like at that point you're better off just splitting a chicken breast, just splitting one. Go to Aldi. Those shits are big.
Yeah, get a rotisserie chicken or something.
Rotisserie, exactly.
No,
like, oh my God, to suggest cereal for dinner?
Yeah.
One of just honestly like the worst things that you can eat.
Well, and there's already like very few cereal options that aren't just like straight up bad for you.
Yeah.
In terms of like sugar content and like processed like food material or fucking whatever.
And they're even more expensive.
Yeah.
And they come in smaller portions and often just cost more.
You might as well just get a fucking thing of oats. You know what I'm saying?
You could get fucking Quaker Oats or some shit. It's probably not owned by Kellogg, which is why he isn't advertising it. We can get the 1 minute oats for like $7 a box, and that shit'll last.
Yeah, but it is really a sign of the times that a CEO feels like he can go on a national broadcast and just say like, yeah, cereal for dinner is a good option for those that are struggling. Yeah. Because one, he knows that it isn't. And two, it's very obviously just a ploy to make more money when he knows that people are struggling to afford produce that they can actually use to make like a good, healthy meal. Yeah. So he's pushing out a cereal option that's he's already raised the prices on as a way to, I don't know, make more money off of people that are struggling, which is awesome.
It's also crazy because I don't know if he mentioned in the interview, if I'm just pulling from other things I read about it, but somebody mentioned somewhere that like, oh yeah, you add like berries to it, then it's like a really nutritious meal. You know how expensive berries are right now?
Yeah.
You know how expensive like fucking blueberries are, raspberries?
Are those? They're not even in season.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And this also leads me back around to this sort of like vibe-based economy thing that we've been hearing. We've talked about this before, but it's this sort of argument usually from liberals that like the economy is doing better and it just doesn't make sense why people don't recognize it, right? They point to things like the GDP is doing better, unemployment is down, we've seen record job growth month over month. Like by all available metrics, the economy is doing pretty well, but people still report not feeling good.
Yeah.
And I would point to this as one example for why people don't feel very good. Because we have CEOs coming out and suggesting things like cereal for dinner, and there's all other there's a bunch of other like metrics you could look at, or just like feelings people are having, whether it's their inability to afford rent or healthcare, or student loans are starting back up, and that's really tough for a lot of people. Like when people look at this idea of like the quote unquote vibes based economy and just completely dismiss it, it feels very condescending.
Yeah.
Because people are struggling, and it's not just that people are struggling, and I'm not saying that people are struggling uniquely under Joe Biden. I'm saying that our economy is sort of built to make people struggle because that's how maximum profit is produced, and we've allowed CEOs like the dude at Kellogg's to kind of run wild with the American economy.
Well, it's like you know that those stats are just detached from the average American experience, just simply because cereal for dinner is hitting the mainstream.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Something that should never happen.
And it is true that, like, on a lot of metrics, the American economy's made a full recovery from time under Donald Trump from the pandemic. It is true that we are doing a lot better. The economy is stronger. The economy is growing. Things are looking up for the American economy. But when you look at these metrics, it doesn't really speak to the average experience of an American worker, especially when we look at, or especially as we are still, especially as we just came out of a sort of high inflation period. Even if inflation rates aren't growing anymore or growing at a much lower rate, the prices are still high, right? The prices didn't drop. Your box of cereal isn't back down to $4 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's still at $7. And with Kellogg raising prices, it's even higher now.
So fucking stupid. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Diabolical, really. And to say this as like a point of pride, anybody who's had as a point of pride from the CEO, there have been times where I've ate cereal for dinner, not necessarily because I was forced to, but just because, like, say I'm lazy, say I'm really busy that day. Never my proudest moment.
Oh, it's always a struggle meal.
It's never because I'm doing well when I eat cereal for dinner. I can tell you that. Even when I eat cereal for breakfast, I'm not feeling the greatest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a really important point. Is like, you don't ever intentionally eat cereal for dinner unless you're having a bad time.
Exactly. Nobody plans like, oh, fuck yeah, like frosted mini wheats. That's gonna be a great dinner for me tonight.
That should not be the practice of eating cereal for dinner should not be endorsed by literally anybody.
Yeah.
Let alone the fucking CEO of the cereal company. You know what I'm talking about? Like, if he's saying we should eat cereal for dinner, bad economic times.
That's how you know things are really bad.
We're struggling. And I want to be clear, right? Like, him coming out and, again, having the audacity to say cereal for dinner and the economy sort of trending towards worse food options overall is a result of capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Like, conservatives will come out and say, like, it's wokeness or whatever. It's because Kellogg's is, like, gay now because they have, I don't know, they make Pop-Tarts maybe that have, like, gay characters on them, something like that, right?
Rainbow Pop-Tarts.
They'll say it's because of wokeness. They'll say it's because the corporation's spending too much on DEI or fucking whatever. Yeah. They're profiting. The system is built to accumulate profit. The system of capitalism is private ownership to achieve maximum profit. So when they see economic conditions where people are struggling, they're going to raise their prices and say, hey, maybe you should eat cereal for dinner because they think they can make more money off of doing that. And fuck, they might.
Honestly, they might. Maybe this will resonate with some people. God damn, what a hellscape.
Yeah. And I've seen some people say, like, we should try to boycott Kellogg's. And it's like, your heart's in the right place, but it's not going to work.
Exactly.
Kellogg's is fucking enormous. I think boycotts work best when they're small and localized, like think the Montgomery bus boycotts, right? There was they were targeting a specific busing system. But Kellogg's is a multinational corporation.
Yeah, and
you're not going to stop them.
Importantly, that busing system was just one busing system.
Yes.
It wasn't a busing system that was intertwined throughout the fabric of the United States, the fabric of busing as it exists, like Kellogg, Nestle, Coca-Cola are.
And those protesters were specifically protesting segregation, something that was really in your face. This is increased prices, which is just a result of what conservatives would say is like market forces, but what we'd argue is intentional price gouging.
Oh yeah,
but that's allowed, right? Like that, you're allowed to do that in this system. You're not punished for doing that, and that's just seen as you being a smart entrepreneur, not a demon in human skin. I bet he crawled out of his skin suit after he left that interview. Oh yeah, into his more comfortable reptile scales.
Pulled the zipper down because he doesn't eat anything for dinner. Actually.
Well, exactly. Bugs.
He goes and gets flies or some shit.
Fucking evil people, bro. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. We're recording on a joyous Tuesday.
Oh, of course.
Push the pod back a couple of days, but we're here. We're back. We're ready. It's good to be in the studio.
We're getting healthy.
Nothing is getting in the way of us delivering to you the news and the content. And boy, do we have a lot of news and content this week.
Not once. In the last 140 weeks have we missed an episode.
So true.
It's not happening.
We're consistent. I think we had one on a Thursday, but that's it.
We had one on a Thursday because that was like peak middle of COVID, and I think one of us had COVID.
Yeah, and wasn't there like a car breakdown or some shit? I don't fucking remember.
Yeah.
But we're back with another episode. We got to talk about Super Tuesday today. Lots of news to talk about. And then we got to talk about the State of the Union that happened last Thursday.
Then we got to talk about a response.
We got to talk about the response. And we got some extra news stories at the end. Sydney Sweeney derangement syndrome.
Wokeness is over.
Wokeness is done.
Wokeness is done.
Because a traditionally attractive woman was on SNL. We'll talk about it. Before we get into the episode, though, I'll remind you, if you want to support the show and get early access to our content, Head over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. Look, we're grassroots funded. We couldn't do it without you all. The warm glow of the studio lights hit me only because of your generosity.
That's right. I'm basking in the rays of your support.
That's right. I'm soaking it up like a plant. This is my photosynthesis every single week. You can also support us by getting some merch. Headintheoffice.com. It's getting warm out. Maybe you want a t-shirt. I'm wearing one right now.
Oh my God.
From our what did we call it? The collection with the mugshot collection?
It might have been.
I don't remember what we named it. Rudy Giuliani is on my t-shirt is what I'm trying to convey to you all.
And it's a good t-shirt.
It is. It's really cool.
It's a good
I like
t-shirt.
it a lot. And you could also head over to our social medias, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Join the Discord. It's all in the description. And we appreciate you for supporting us.
See some of the day-to-day thoughts that don't make it onto here every week.
We are a thought leader on the left.
Oh, of course. So, yeah. We're like the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah.
We're a think tank.
We got a lot of 5-star reviews. We're going to cover some of them today. And, if we didn't get to yours, we'll get to it next week. I promise.
Yes.
You know how it goes. Last week, 0. This week, influx.
0, I'm crying.
When we beg and grovel, it works. You're just reinforcing. This is classical conditioning.
I'm going to keep begging. And you know what? Maybe next time I'm going to beg even harder.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I'm going to start pushing it.
Maybe the whole pod will just be us crying into the microphone one day.
Please, bro, please.
First review here is from Emma the Dude Slayer for non-sogged Cheerios. See, Emma knows.
Exactly.
Emma says, first off, I would like to lead with I do condemn Hamas, trademarked. What, Hamas is trademarked now?
Oh, no.
They've made their way into the patent system.
No.
I could not sit by as Gage and now apparently Jeremy make their Cheerios salty. So here's my humble 5-star review. As always, I love the show, y'all. So keep up the good work and keep these evergreen takes flowing. I've had some personal philosophy bouncing around in my head for a little while, and I'd like to bounce it off the smartest white boys, corked up, I hope.
That's right.
With microphones that I non-parasocially know. The only authority worthy of respect is knowledge, and it is the moral imperative of those with knowledge to share it. Those who hoard knowledge for the sake of authority are just as bad as someone who hoards any other critical resource. Thoughts? ?
Bars.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Thoughts, bars. Thoughts, I wouldn't have fucking come up with that.
Yeah, you could argue that gatekeeping knowledge behind a sort of paywall in terms of college education is a way of hoarding knowledge for those that can afford it.
Especially when there's, say, data out there that says those with college degrees have better outcomes than those who don't. But who am I?
Something to think about. Good take.
Something to think about. Great take. A spitting philosophy out here on Head in the Office.
We are philosophers.
See, even our listeners are crazy with it.
We got Socrates and Aristotle on the pod right now.
That's right.
And Plato just came through.
Our fucking students. This next review, Indoctrinating My Family One Sermon at a Time by Gmont9. I, like many others, found the pod on TikTok, and I knew I had to support these cis, straight, white men with rational opinions. Being a black woman, an econ major, and a sorority girl at one of the most socially conservative universities in the great state of Ohio, I hear some wild takes, and the Hiddo Boys give me the rhetorical tools I need to defend my positions. Since upgrading to a Sunday supremacist, not subtle plug, Head in the Office, patreon.com/Head in the Office.
Exactly.
My routine on Sundays has consisted of meal prepping while listening to the gospel. When I'm home on breaks, my super liberal family asks that I put the episode on speaker so they can hear it too. There's no way, bro.
Blasted throughout the house,
There's
surround
no
sound?
way.
Oh my God.
I know I've indoctrinated them because last week my sister asks, quote, why isn't medicine free? In the family group chat.
Real as hell.
Love the pod and I condemn Hamas to the nth degree. Amazing.
Oh my God.
Model review right there.
Look, if your family's listening right now, take this up to their ears and let them know that I appreciate them.
Absolutely.
And medicine should be free. Shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold.
Exactly. You need it to live in elastic demand.
Exactly.
As an econ major would say.
Exactly. Our next review here, Biblical Hellscape of America by Hammer Sickle Reviews. They say, I've listened to you for about a year, and I'm trying to get my Hiddo Head badge.
Nice.
Your podcast on February 28th really opened my eyes to the fact that every year we're getting one step closer to crucifixion. Get your passports, people. Because, of course, we need governmental permission to leave our government. Yeah, exactly. Interesting.
One step closer to crucifixion. You can avoid that by joining the sermon, though. You know
so
what I'm saying?
True.
Joining the Sunday sermon and becoming saved. I digress. This next review. My favorite way to dunk on right-wing weirdos by Luke Wacher.
Something like that.
Before starting this review, I have to say, I absolutely, positively condemn Hamas. Now that the most important part is out of the way, oh boy, do the Hiddo Boys know how to produce one banger of a podcast. From gay nutcrackers to backshots in the Senate and even Real news. Jeremy and Gage never fail to provide coverage on the topics that really matter. After stumbling across these wonderful folks on TikTok, I've since made my way back through the entire backlog of episodes and become a part of the Hiddo family, non-parasocially, of course. Although I can't afford to ascend to Sunday supremacy, tuning in every Wednesday never fails to make this weenie smile. Collecting ammunition to shoot down my Republican family's stupidity has never been so enjoyable. P.S. In case you forgot, I condemn Hamas.
I was sweating at the end there.
That's what I'm saying. I have to commend you, certified Hiddo heads. I can't imagine listening back to all 140 of these.
You could say we're Hiddo heads because we listened to ourselves talk through all of them.
That's true. I made all of them.
Precisely. So fuck it, whatever. It don't even matter. Before we get into the news, I will announce Hiddo Media officially 1 year old.
Hiddo Media LLC has made it further than 90% of other small businesses.
Let's just say we can do what they do better than they do. That's all I'm saying.
Next time I hear a small business owner get on here and complain, bro, I did it.
Yeah, I
did it.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
As I'm saying, brother, to work harder.
Pull them up.
Did you ever consider working harder?
Exactly.
God damn.
Let's talk about Super Tuesday.
Oh my goodness.
Last Tuesday we had the biggest day for primary elections this year. This year's presidential cycle, Super Tuesday, of course. Around 15 states held its election for president. There were some elections for other things as well, like in California and North Carolina that we'll talk about. But I think we could take a deep dive into these results. Also, American Samoa had their caucus, which was important for a reason we'll talk about later. But let's start off on the Republican side of Super Tuesday, the presidency. So as expected, Donald Trump overwhelmingly won the day.
Who'd have thought? Taking
793 of the 865 delegates up for grabs. Trump won every state except for Vermont. Nikki Haley won Vermont 50.2% to 45.9%. Haley also won D.C., but that was before Super Tuesday, I think the Saturday before or something like that. Interestingly, in the Republican primary there was only 2,000 votes cast total.
Wow.
Very small primary.
Wow.
I know like a lot of people there people that like live there and are registered to vote there aren't conservative, so it makes sense that they don't have a big primary, but like 2,000.
That's unimaginably
smaller
tiny.
than our high school.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Tiny amount of people that voted there.
Winning Vermont is also crazy, but I guess the state that elected the most progressive senator would, I guess, their conservatives be even a little more progressive than the rest of the country.
And she didn't win New Hampshire, but she got like what 40%, 45% out of New Hampshire. She did pretty well compared to other states. And if there's any state that was going to vote similarly to New Hampshire, I guess it'd be the one right next to it.
Yeah,
Vermont,
true.
Right? Yeah. So we were wondering back then, like, will any state really act like New Hampshire? Vermont.
I guess. So she probably double, tripled, quintupled even her county win count.
Oh my God, yeah, with Vermont.
Oh my God, it was the best night she's ever had.
Now there isn't a whole lot of analysis here for us to do because shortly after Trump had his resounding victory on Super Tuesday, Nikki Haley dropped out of the presidential race, did not endorse Donald Trump. That endorsement might still come. I guess there's time before the convention and certainly before the general election. But we didn't get anything. There's really nothing to talk about because Trump won. That's all it is.
And big surprise, right? Yeah. I know Ron DeSantis, he did come out and condemn Nikki Haley for not endorsing Trump, and he invoked the
glazing is crazy.
The thing that they signed at the beginning of the primaries or right before the primaries to be able to get on stage that says, I will endorse whatever person eventually becomes the candidate, even if it's not me. And Ron DeSantis said, well, actually, you signed it.
You fucking nerd.
Give this man a swirly.
Put him in a locker, bro.
Give this man a swirly, bro.
Oh my, that's so annoying. Because like, yeah, they all signed it, but we all know that that's a fucking farce.
Yeah.
There's no enforcement. It's not a legal document.
It's not a legal document. It was just a pledge.
Yeah.
He's never beating the nerd allegations.
No,
I cannot believe a year ago I was scared of this man.
The meat riding is crazy.
Every week, there's just more and more information that comes out about him, or he acts in such a way that just makes me so embarrassed that there's a record of me being like, oh, Ron DeSantis, he's scary going into this next election, man.
He got some bad ideas, but he himself, what a fucking flop. Yeah.
In his flop era.
Chris Christie was on some news channel. He was doing some kind of interview where they asked him, because he signed the pledge too to get on the debate stage. And he flat out said, like, I'm not going to, like, I don't care.
Word.
He's like, yeah, I signed it. So what?
See, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And so I hope Nikki doesn't endorse him.
Because it's not like I don't think there was an agreement that if you sign this and then don't do it, you're like barred from the party or anything. Like, whatever.
And it's also like Trump didn't sign it.
Yeah.
Trump didn't even participate in the debates because he refused to sign it.
And that doesn't matter. And even if he did sign it, it wouldn't matter, right?
Yeah, and it's like,
it
so you're bound to the guy who exists outside of the rules.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that would make sense. That would hold some weight if we're people who respect these institutions. If he also signed it too, but he didn't give a shit. He said, no, I won't, actually. I'm not going to endorse anyone else.
Switching over to the Democrats, there's some more interesting results that we can talk about, less just kind of straight up Trump wins. Biden won all of the primaries as well, as expected, of course, and will undoubtedly be the party nominee. So we're heading for a rematch in November, which we already knew, but now it's guaranteed at this point, unless one of them dies, which would be
That's got to be what they're banking on.
Funny. It'd be really funny.
It's got to be what people are banking. It's got to be what Nikki Haley is waiting for.
Being in second place.
Something is happen to this man.
In a lot of states, Biden received around 90%, 85% of the vote, except for a few notable exceptions where the sort of uncommitted no preference vote had quite a margin.
Yes.
Quite a margin compared to what expectations were. So North Carolina, I think, was the one that grabbed a lot of people's attention. No preference received 13% of the vote. That was 88,000 people. Minnesota, uncommitted, received 19% of the vote, around 46,000 people. In Colorado, non-committed only gained 9% of the vote, but that represented 51,000 people. And in Oklahoma, strangely enough, Marianne Williamson won 9% of the vote. Only 8,000 people, so the Democratic primary in Oklahoma was pretty small, but Marianne Williamson with almost double digits in this election.
I didn't know that there were, I guess, that many annoying liberals in Oklahoma.
We're so back.
That's
so
crazy. Oh, my God.
And I can't remember what state this was in, but Cenk from TYT did win like 2% somewhere.
Don't care, still voting Cenk.
Still voting Cenk.
I'm voting Cenk.
Now, the issue here, obviously the results are notable because we talked about how in Michigan, the uncommitted vote of like 13% statewide, 100,000 people was a big deal. And of course, it's still a big deal in terms of like how notable it is and how it sort of shows the party, or should show Joe Biden, that there's a faction within the Democratic voting base that is unhappy with him and does not want to vote for him. But I feel like the story is a bit smaller here because none of these states are really swing states like the way Michigan is.
Yeah.
Joe Biden, you could say maybe North Carolina is, but Joe Biden didn't win North Carolina in 2024. It was kind of a toss-up state, so he doesn't really need it if he wants to win it, or he didn't win it in 2020. He doesn't need it if he wants to win in 2024. And for Minnesota, it is a large portion of the vote, almost 20% that voted uncommitted, but Minnesota is pretty solid blue.
Yeah.
I don't know when the last time Minnesota turned red was. I would not be worried about Minnesota if I was Joe Biden. It's a lot easier to write off these results than it was to write off the Michigan results, because Michigan is very much a swing state.
It went back and forth for Trump and Biden. But I think also, like, with regards to the uncommitted movement and these uncommitted votes, I think something that we have to consider when we're talking about these, just to put it in context, is that I think a lot of people will be who care about this issue will be galvanized to go out and vote uncommitted, who weren't necessarily going to vote in the general either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just, with that in mind, it makes it kind of hard just to put all of this in context. I do think these results are significant in that it shows just exactly, like, I guess, a proportion of the people that are really, really unhappy with what Biden has been doing. And that means something, but I still think it's really hard to put this in context of the general this far out.
Yeah, it is tough, especially because Trump has defector issues as well.
Yeah.
With the Nikki Haley vote. And although a lot of them might just acquiesce and end up voting for Trump because they don't like Joe Biden or whatever, there is at least some portion that he's already written off in speeches saying like, oh, we don't need them. He's literally said we don't need them.
Oh, nice.
So there's at least some section of the GOP that might not vote at all. I doubt will vote for Joe Biden, but won't vote for Trump. That will harm his vote totals as well. And like you said, it's hard to tell based off the kinds of people that are voting uncommitted what turnout will be like for Joe Biden. It's just it's literally 50-50. There's no way to say right now.
I do think that Trump defectors are far more likely to vote for Joe Biden than Biden defectors. You know what I mean? I feel like there's something to be said there, but I don't know if I'm making any predictions for the general. It's that turnout's going to be low.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone cares about these two guys.
Yeah, turnout will be very different than 2020 because people are not nearly as galvanized to get rid of Trump as they were back in 2020.
No mail-in ballots.
Yeah, and mail-in ballots are a lot less common. It's harder to do in a lot of different states. And I think I saw, when it comes to the uncommitted vote, a lot of people are just writing it off as like, oh, it's just the Arab populations in these states that are mad.
That's a crazy thing to say.
Well, and that's what they did with Michigan, right?
Yeah.
They called them terrorists, which is like coded.
It was right after somebody was at the Wall Street Journal, published the article that said, what was it, Dearborn, Michigan, the jihad capital of the world? Like, that shit is nuts.
Oh, right before Dune 2.
Oh my God.
Paul Atreides made jihad cool. Anyway, I think I saw something like it's something to suggest that it's young people that are really driving the uncommitted vote. Of course, there are Arab voters, Muslim voters that are like upset about Gaza. Understandably, I think everybody should be. But I think I saw something for Minnesota specifically that the counties that voted most for uncommitted were the youngest counties with the most young voters.
And that makes sense.
And young voters are turning out and voting uncommitted. Maybe young voters that wouldn't show up in a regular primary where Gaza isn't basically the biggest issue right now. Maybe these are young voters that wouldn't even vote in the general election but are galvanized, motivated to because of what's happening in Gaza. It's really hard to tell.
I also think, like, with young voters specifically, I think there's an issue, like, back to, like, the defector problem with Trump and Biden. While I think a Trump defector is more likely to vote for Biden than a Biden defector for Trump, I feel like there are more Biden defectors than they are for Trump. At least there are more within the electorate that matter, that helped him get the win in 2020. Because it was it was a lot of young people that got it. Wasn't it record turnout for 18 to 24?
It was Gen Z and millennials.
Yeah.
Millennials more so because Gen Z is still aging into the voting
Makes
population.
sense.
And the younger you are, the less likely you are to vote. But
Exactly.
millennials and Gen Z were the ones that really drove it.
And it's that point, the younger you are, the less likely you are to vote. Something that's held true forever.
Yeah.
Forever, by the way. I think with the things happening in Gaza and with Biden's rhetoric on immigration that we will get into in a little bit, I think that is doing more to turn off a population of voters that just doesn't really want to vote anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a big issue.
Did you see Biden's message to Nikki Haley voters?
No.
He basically put out a statement on Twitter and various other places where he was like, well, you have a home in the Democratic Party if you don't want to vote for Trump.
No, she shouldn't. What do you mean?
No, not to Nikki Haley, but to the people that voted for Nikki Haley.
Oh.
He was just saying, like, if you're, a Republican voter, you voted for Haley, you can come over and vote for Biden. Like, your voice will be heard. That kind of effort is not extended to young people mad about Gaza.
Absolutely
Which
not.
is just, like, fucking absurd, because if you pull from the sort of left of center, left-wing voting base in this country, people that usually don't vote, with some economic and, I guess, now foreign policy populism, you could really get them. And, like, this makes it clear they're so motivated to vote against you. Imagine if you could sort of capture that voting base for yourself by not being a genocidal freak.
They're allergic to trying to reach voters that don't necessarily have a proven track record, and to an extent, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But to go to swing so far in the other direction, we're like, yeah, we'd rather have Republicans, which is very clearly what they're doing with what you said about how he's telling Nikki Haley voters to have a home. There's like 3 Nikki Haley voters.
Yeah,
she won 2 counties before Super Tuesday, dog. Like, like this is not a voting block of people that's going to be consequential when it comes to the general election. Like, and with his rhetoric on immigration, he's so clearly trying to take the Lincoln Project guys and say, oh, come to us. Yeah. Brother, you have a group of young people that care about this issue. Gaza is probably one of the most important things when it came to getting young people into politics right now.
Yeah.
There are so many young people that did not give a shit, or maybe just like vaguely paid attention, that care now because of what's happening in Gaza.
There's a lot of voters there you could mobilize, and we'll talk about other issues Democrats have in their arsenal when we talk about the State of the Union, because he brings a lot of them up. But if you were just better on Gaza, or at least not as much of a freak as you have been, and then you used all those other issues as well, I feel like we'd be in a better place. But the whole Gaza policy is just thrown it out the window and really just made this a toss-up for an election that should be, I wouldn't say easy, but at least like mid difficulty. You know what I'm saying? Easy to mid diff.
Easy to mid diff. Biden over Trump. Come on, man.
Yeah. More consequent. And I don't mean to say that like voting uncommitted at this point doesn't matter, because we have some more consequential primaries that are coming up. Unfortunately, in the U.S. at this point, at least for the 2024 election, it'll be decided by 5 states. About. We got Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Yep. Those are the states that will decide the entire election.
Those are the same states that decided in 2020, right?
Yes.
Or was Florida also in there?
Well, Florida went to Trump, and Florida, who cares about Florida? Get Florida off into the sea.
Was Florida on swing state watch back then, though?
It might have been, and it certainly was in 2016.
Definitely not now, though.
I think Obama won it in 2008. but not 2012. I don't remember exactly, but it used to be considered a swing state. North Carolina used to be considered more of a swing state, but that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah,
and Biden doesn't need these states to win. If he does win Florida, it's basically over, but that's not going to happen because of Ron DeSantis.
I wonder how much Texas is going to go blue discourse we're going to have.
I mean, Ted Cruz is on the ballot, and he's repulsive in Texas.
Ted Cruz being on the ballot is crazy. I hope that galvanizes people to not go out and vote.
I hope so. He's like so unpopular, but he keeps winning.
I don't know how. It's just like Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, he's the new Mitch. More consequential primaries are coming up where the uncommitted vote will matter a lot.
Yes.
That's in Georgia on March 12th, which is today for us, yesterday for Wednesday Weenie listeners. So if the uncommitted vote is high in Georgia, that's a really big deal because he won very slimly in Georgia.
What are you throwing out there for the uncommitted vote?
Like, in Georgia?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no I don't know what the Georgia electorate is like.
I want to say between 10 and 15%.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, maybe I just think of Georgia as more red than a swing state. I want to say like maybe between 10 and 15%.
Well, I think anything above like 10,000 voters going uncommitted should be alarming for Joe Biden.
Very because it's a primary.
Well, because it's of course, because it's a primary, but also the general election in 2020 was decided in Georgia, super slim margins. Remember, Trump said, "Find me 11,700 whatever votes."
Yeah,
because that was exactly what he needed to win Georgia.
Every single race in Georgia was super slim. It was Trump Biden. It was the runoffs for the Senate with Warnock and who's the other guy and
Ossoff.
John Ossoff.
Yeah.
Like those had slim margins. They barely got those seats.
Yeah, and that happened in large part because people were so galvanized against Trump and Republicans for the COVID response and other things, and that's just not the case now. So
any uncommitted votes in Georgia are bad for this guy. I forgot how slim that was.
But then we also have Arizona the next Tuesday on March 19th, Wisconsin on April 2nd, and Pennsylvania on April 23rd. Those are all highly consequential elections. If we see uncommitted votes similar to North Carolina, Minnesota, or Michigan in those states, then Biden should be very worried about his ability to win those states. Because if he loses, I think if he loses like any 2 or 3 combined of those states, it's basically over. Trump wins. You got to get those. At least most of them. Lastly, it is important to say in the Democratic primary here, it wasn't a sweep. Or I should say it wasn't a shutout. It was a sweep because he won most of them, but it wasn't a shutout. Because on this Super Tuesday in American Samoa, a U.S. territory that does participate in the primaries despite not having any electoral votes, this dude named Jason Palmer won over Joe Biden.
I'm a Palmer head.
Palmermentum.
I'm Palmermentum, baby. Come on. It's like a snowball rolling down the hill.
I'm a Palmerite. Let me tell you, I am a political Palmerite. Turnout was, it was a caucus, and turnout was 91. Total. 91 people. Palmer managed to receive 51 of the votes. Biden got 40, and that's Biden's first loss this primary season. Not from Marianne Williamson, not from Dean Phillips.
That's so embarrassing.
Palmer.
That's so embarrassing. I'm more surprised that Dean Phillips couldn't beat Marianne Williamson.
Yeah,
he's a sitting House member.
Yeah.
He already has power.
He's got power. He's got funds.
He's proven that he's electable.
Yeah.
He has the the DCCC behind him.
Well, probably not. But like he's got campaign funds from like previous election cycles, I'd assume.
That's true.
Unless he spent it irresponsibly. But like, yeah, he knows how to campaign. Marianne Williamson was beating him in a lot of contests, and now Jason Palmer comes through with the Palmermentum in American Samoa.
Damn, bruh.
Go crazy.
Shout out Jason Palmer. I did see a lot of conservatives trying to like dunk on Biden for this.
Yeah.
As if it was anything consequential.
Yeah, it's like, what, maybe like 3 delegates?
Exactly.
Something tiny.
And it's not something that really matters. And honestly, that's more sad. Like the bigger thing here is that we have these territories that we just don't care about.
Yeah.
We have these territories that we kind of just like exploit. I know it gets more complex when you're talking about Puerto Rico. I don't necessarily know enough about that conversation, but I know when it comes to American Samoa, like we just kind of have it and kind of lay it to waste.
Well, and it's like we don't talk about it like this, but it's a colony, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't
absolutely.
It's not treated the same as colonies have been in the past, but we just own it. It's just ours, and they have no political representation.
We extract resources from it, and they don't have any say in our elections.
Yeah, and it's that way with Guam as well. Puerto Rico, they are technically American citizens, but Puerto Rico also, I don't think Puerto Rico has electoral votes. DC has 3, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but like That's it. They don't have representation in Congress or anything like that. No senators.
Because
right?
I remember, was it like 2 years ago? There was another like big round of conversations around Puerto Rico statehood, and that's that's a complex topic.
Very complex.
I don't know what's going on there, but I know we have like some like 50 territories or something. Don't we have a lot of American territories around? It's not just Guam, Puerto Rico, and American Samoa.
Well, I mean, 800 military bases around the world. Yeah, how do you define all this stuff?
We have all these territories. They just don't like consequentially like matter when it comes to like representation and actual like holding power within the United States. Like that's ridiculous.
Or even DC, it's like 600,000 people that don't have a member of Congress.
Yeah, don't have senators. Oh my god.
And the argument from Republicans is, oh, well, if we gave them statehood, they'd vote Democratic. It's like, well, you could try to win the votes. You know what I mean? You could try a little bit.
We can't let them have statehood because we would lose power.
Exactly. We would never have the Senate again.
What do you mean?
That's it for Super Tuesday news, but we do have some more election news to go over. I want to stick with Biden for a moment, though, because we're about to cover the State of the Union. And I don't know if you saw this. There was this really long piece in the New Yorker by Evan Osnos. It was like over 10,000 words long. I did not read it all.
Way too many words.
But it was basically, not reading all that. It was basically like a look inside the Biden administration, a sort of expose, if you will.
Okay.
And there was just this one quote that this was sort of like the theme of the piece is Biden's out of touch, and so is everyone that he's hired.
I feel like I believe it. I feel like I believe it.
So I'll just read this one quote because a lot of people were talking about this. It says, quote, Biden's aides rejected the idea that the White House is insular or dismissive of reality. Zients, who succeeded Ron Klain as chief of staff last year, pointed to Biden's reputation for soliciting opinions from critics. Here's my favorite part. Okay. Just the other day, he picked up the phone and called Larry Summers, Zients said. As outreach goes, it was relatively safe. Summers, despite the critical comments, is a longtime advisor to presidents. He's a right-winger, by the way.
Oh,
Biden's
nice.
other occasional calls range from the columnist Thomas Friedman to Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell. He says that's how you pressure test decisions. He's
Thomas
basically
Friedman,
saying,
I feel like I've heard that name.
You might have heard of Milton Friedman. I don't think they're related.
Okay, all
they're
right.
both like right-wing economists.
Nut jobs. Yeah.
I bring this up because, Biden's being accused of being out of touch. He's being accused of not hearing sort of countervailing opinions. And he says, no, I listen to right-wingers all the time.
Holy shit. Calling up Mitch McConnell to pressure test a decision is crazy. Calling up the guy who stopped when you were vice president, calling up the guy who is famous right now for stopping everything you and your president tried to do, being the obstructionist in the Senate, to see what he thinks about your decisions is crazy. I also remember a couple months ago at this point, there was a thing that came out saying that Biden will put on MSNBC or one of those news channels in the morning, and he'll watch the morning show, and that has a significant effect on the presidential agenda. That has a significant effect on his decision making.
That's what Trump did.
He's just watching TV and just getting his food fed to him.
And it's when people make the criticism that Joe Biden's out of touch and he isn't listening to critics, I don't think the concern is that he's not being bipartisan and listening to people on the right.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly the problem, actually, that he listens too much to people on the right.
Well, it's also the issue that trying to beat the out of touch allegation. You're never going to beat the out of touch allegations by also talking to other people who are seen as out of touch.
Yes. Mitch McConnell.
You are never going to beat the, oh my God, you're not a working man, by going to your other rich friends, your rich and powerful friends, and being like, they're telling me I'm not a working man. Yeah. What do you think about this?
It's just really bad. And this piece just really highlighted how Biden is just not with it. Man. And people were rightfully dunking on it because it's this looks bad. This looks real bad.
Because that is exactly what Trump did. That is exactly what CNN and MSNBC would not stop talking about for the 4 years Trump was in office. How, he watches Fox and Friends and lets that sway his decisions. He talks to Tucker Carlson to figure out what he should do. He does this, and that.
Maybe it's just a relic of being an old man. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just what being old does to you. Cable television just decides things for you.
Well, to be fair, I feel yeah.
Before moving on to our last state, North Carolina, I want to stop at California real quick. They have a weird kind of primary system. So they just held a primary for Senate races this Super Tuesday. And this primary decides the final two people who will go on to the general election to run for the Senate seat in California.
Yeah.
But the weird thing about their primary system is like everyone participates. Democrats, Republicans, independents, and so on. It's not really like a party primary system for some reason. So you had kind of just everyone thrown in. Obviously, California, Democrats are the only ones that stand a chance, right?
Yeah.
So you've got Adam Schiff, who's kind of a moderate Republican, kind of, I don't like him very much.
Word.
He did good with the Trump impeachment stuff, but other than that, he's kind of just a moderate. You had Katie Porter, who is a progressive. Big fan of Katie Porter.
We love Katie Porter.
Barbara Lee, I think, is her name. She occupies the seat. She was appointed by Gavin Newsom after Dianne Feinstein unfortunately passed from the mortal plane, left her mortal coil.
Didn't she pass like in her office or something? Or there was something crazy with like when she... Never mind.
She was a fucking kid. That's all I know.
Yeah, I know, man. She's fucking way too young.
So you kind of had some people running for... you had the three Democrats there that were basically going to be two of the three... or they were going to be... Those three were going to be, at least two of them were going to move on.
The only people that had a chance.
That's the idea. And Adam Schiff, the guy who is sort of leading in the polls, was worried that if it's just one-on-one, him versus Katie Porter, then he loses in California. So what Adam Schiff did was take one of the Republicans that was receiving basically no attention, not registering in the polls, platformed him intentionally so that he would win second place for Republican voters that are turning out. So now it's him versus this basically nobody Republican that played baseball like decades ago.
So now Katie Porter, like on some Herschel Walker shit? Like pro athlete.
I don't think he's as insane as Herschel Walker, but yeah, he was like a former pro athlete who is now he came in second in the primary system and is going to be running against Adam Schiff in November.
So now Katie Porter just doesn't have a chance.
Yeah,
she's
Katie
just
Porter,
out.
Yeah,
she's out of her seat.
Presumably she would have been the one going against Adam Schiff.
Yep.
Adam Schiff was worried that she would beat him because she's more progressive. So he basically used the massive amount of money that he has, being a liberal darling, and platformed one of the Republicans that was not going to register. Which is just the scummiest thing on the fucking planet. These these supposedly Democratic strongholds just produce the worst type of Democrat. It's
Absolutely, because it's also like he's saying, I would rather in a climate right now where the House is so close.
Yes,
the balance of power is
like four seats.
Couple seats. It is tiny. I would rather risk Republicans furthering their lead, having a better shot at passing the most awful legislation imaginable, which is what they've been talking about, than let a progressive win, or alternatively, let someone who's not me win.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and it's like, right, like the story is twofold, right? You have the one piece where Adam Schiff just fucks over Katie Porter because he wants to win.
Yep.
Yeah, he doesn't want a tough contest.
Yeah.
Now he's functionally going to be the senator because the Republican's not going to win. But there's the second story where you have to consider down ballot effects. Mm-hmm. Although we think of California as very liberal, there's a lot of House seats that are very, very contested.
Yes.
Even like blue-ish, purplish counties that Republicans hold that Democrats want to win. Mm-hmm. But if you have a Republican close to the top of the ticket, especially with Trump on the ballot in 2024, if you have a Republican up there also running for Senate, that could motivate more people to fill out the entire ballot on the Republican side and could make it so Democrats have a harder time winning the House. And it's all because Adam Schiff decided to be fucking selfish. Like, man, that's crazy, right?
Fucking love that guy.
At the same time,
I love Democrats, bruh.
At the same time, New York Democrats, like we talked about last week, just redrew their lines for no reason other than to help Republicans.
Also, I guess I'm not understanding. Katie Porter and Adam Schiff are currently serving, aren't they?
In the House.
Did she move districts? Or did California redraw their maps?
Well, Katie, they're both House representatives, but I think they have to... I don't think you can like run for both at once. So I think Katie Porter will be out of a seat now, I would assume.
Huh.
Because they're running for Senate and she was in the House.
Oh, they're running for Senate?
Yes.
Oh, my bad. I was thinking this was another House race. That makes sense.
Yeah, they're running for Senate, and Adam Schiff said, I'm going to just be the most sleazy scumbag politician on the planet and win this race.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah,
Katie
very
Porter
Machiavellian.
In the Senate would have been great.
Yeah.
Katie Porter
I know.
In the Senate would have been so perfect.
Oh my God, the whiteboards.
Wonderful. Oh my God.
The fucking dollars she's pulling out. Like, how much of this goes to marketing?
Dollars are so sick.
But no, we're not going to get that. And I don't know if she can like re-up and run for her same House seat now at this point. It might not be an option.
Damn.
You might only be able to run for like one at a time, but yeah, she's not going to be in the Senate at the very least. We know that.
Wow. Love Democrats.
Yeah, and it was also, to be fair, she did get on Twitter and say the election was rigged against her, which is like, okay. I agree what he did was shitty, but don't be a conservative. You know what I mean? Come on.
Don't do the Trump thing.
Yeah.
Please, anything but the Trump thing. Oh my God.
We can be better than him. It was awesome. Like we always say, everyone's a liberal. Everyone's a conservative too.
Oh my God.
Everyone's a reactionary conservative.
Watch. As soon as we're eventually, if maybe we fall off one day, that shit was rigged. That shit was rigged, bro. I'm telling you.
The media is controlled by a small cabal of people.
Big podcasting controlled by their rich elite.
Ridiculous. Lastly, for election news, I want to zero in on North Carolina.
Okay.
I've got two news stories out of North Carolina. First, North Carolina did, of course, hold the presidential primary that we talked about, but they also held primaries for statewide offices, including governor and attorney general. First, gotta say, TikTok is real life because Jeff Jackson, the TikToker, the House of Representatives TikToker, won his primary battle and is going to go on to the general election in the fall for attorney general. So that's pretty cool.
For attorney general,
he got his state got redistricted and he basically got pushed out of the House, so he can't run anymore.
Man,
yeah,
love that. Love when redistricting just takes one of the most transparent people to see the House ever.
Yeah.
And just takes him out. Just kicks him right out of there.
He's a moderate, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't doing anything like socialist in the House.
Absolutely not. He probably had, honestly, I'm willing to say maybe he had some bad opinions on present topics.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he could have been pro-Israel. Yeah,
there was some transparency there that I liked, at least. Like,
yeah, it was nice that he would like talk to people about what he's hearing in committees and like how he's getting bills passed and stuff like this. But yeah, he was, and he made a TikTok about how they redrew the maps and just cheated so he couldn't win.
Cool.
So
I love that,
he decided to run for attorney general instead. He will be heading to the general election, so we'll see how he's going to do. But more importantly, and I think more fun for us, I'm going to hit us with a...
Oh shit, let's go.
We got to talk about Mark Robinson.
Mark Robinson. Fill me in.
You said you've heard of him, but I don't think you heard of him, if you know what I mean.
All right.
So Mark Robinson is the current lieutenant governor of North Carolina and is now officially the Republican Party's nominee for the governor in the November election. In unusual GOP fashion, they found maybe the most insane person of all time in the state to run for their party.
This guy, I've heard this guy loves his quotes.
And loves quotes. Rather than just list off things that he said, I think we should play a game called, did Mark Robinson say this or did I just make it up?
I love, this is a classic Hiddo game right here. This is a classic Hiddo game.
Let me pull up a list of quotes. I've got 10 this time.
Let's go. Oh, that's exciting.
And,
that's exciting.
You know, I don't want to engage in hyperbolic language or anything, but it was, I'll say, a real struggle trying to make parodies of what this guy said, because
you could say it's beyond parody.
Usually what he said was crazier than what I could think of to write. So
oh my,
I think we should get into it. Number one.
Okay.
Did Mark Robinson say, quote, pride in one's own race, and that does not imply contempt for other races, is also a normal and healthy sentiment. I have never regarded the Chinese or the Japanese as being inferior to ourselves. They have the right to be proud of their past, just as we have the right to be proud of the civilization to which we belong. Did he say that?
To be proud of their past when talking about Japan?
Oh, did he say it? Was it him?
He definitely said that. I don't think you could have cooked that one up. I don't think a sane person could have cooked that up.
So technically, he posted this quote to Facebook in 2014, but it's actually a quote from Adolf Hitler.
Nice.
Robinson, it's important to note Robinson himself is a black man, but for reasons you'll see, he wasn't talking about like black pride or anything like that. It's also important to note that Hitler said this at a time when like millions of people had been killed by him and Nazi forces already.
Wow.
So pretty cool quote.
So he said this like mid peak of his evil.
Yeah, 1940 something, probably.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So Mark Robinson quoting Hitler. Pretty cool.
Okay, word.
Number two. Did Mark Robinson, talking about the Black Panther Marvel movie, say, quote, it is absolutely amazing to me that people who know so little about their true history and refuse to acknowledge the pure sorry state of their current condition can get so excited about a fictional, quote-unquote, hero created by an agnostic Jew and put to film by a satanic Marxist. How can this trash that was only created to pull the shekels out of your, I don't think I can say that word, pockets, invoke any pride? I think
he said that.
Yeah, he put it on Facebook in 2018.
Okay.
I think it's a slur for black people in Yiddish. So
Yiddish?
Kind of woke.
See, it's insane. Just like it's one level of like anti-Semitic to invoke like, oh, a Jew made this.
Yes.
It's a whole nother level to say a Jew made this and then say shekels.
Yeah, they're pulling it out of your pockets.
Anytime you're dropping the word shekels, bruh, I cannot trust you.
Yeah, the idea is like they made a woke Jew and a satanic Marxist made the Black Panther movie to take money from black people.
Well, of course, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that's a take he has. More
Cool.
anti-Semitism.
Cool.
Did Robinson post on Facebook, quote, this is number 3, quote, "There is a reason the liberal media fills the airwaves with programs about the Nazis and the, quote, 6 million Jews they murdered. There's also a reason those same liberals do not fill the airwaves with programs about the communists and the 100 million people they murdered throughout the 20th century."
It's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough one.
Yeah,
I feel like
Holocaust denial.
this one could lead either way.
Okay.
Because you always have those Nazis that are like, show me the mass graves.
Yeah.
Show me the mass
Yeah.
graves. But I feel like this is one that he maybe didn't say. It doesn't feel as unhinged as the other two. There's layers.
Or have you ever seen people like try to do the math? They're
Yeah.
like, you would have had to burn this many people this many times per minute to make this happen.
There's that Nick Fuentes like quote where he says something like, if I wanted to bake this amount
The
of cookies.
cookies? Yeah.
But
So-
I feel like this one doesn't have as many layers as the other one. So maybe he didn't say this.
It was him. Yeah,
It was him?
2017.
Fuck.
He posted that on Facebook. Yeah.
See, I want to know, is he like posting these on Facebooks as like pictures of quotes? Is he typing these on Facebooks, or is he like putting them with the gradient background and the sideways laughing face?
Oh no, this was just straight up like a status update. This was
Status
pure
update.
Mark
This is how
Robinson
I'm
typing.
feeling, man.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
all
yeah. The other one was a Hitler quote, but I think he just copy pasted.
Nice. That
So
makes sense.
maybe he just looked it up. I don't know. Next one, number 4. Did Mark Robinson say, quote, "Jewish groups led the effort for Europe and America to take a catastrophic flood of non-European refugees / terrorists / rapists / criminals"?
Oh, that's bars. That's bars from
Wait.
him. Wait, huh?
So that was Mark Robinson?
I think that was Mark Robinson. That's such popular GOP rhetoric, especially
is.
like back the last couple of years.
It certainly is popular GOP rhetoric, but that was actually David Duke in
Damn.
2016. Funny how similar it is, though. Did Mark Robinson say, quote, number 5, "The civil rights movement was a communist plot to subvert capitalism and used to subvert free choice where you go to school and things like that"?
Say that again.
Did Mark Robinson say, quote, "The civil rights movement was a communist plot to subvert capitalism and was used to subvert free choice where you go to school and things like that"?
He definitely posted that on Facebook.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
definitely said that.
He was busy in 2018.
That is so in line with the Black Panther take. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'll give you this one for free. He also said, quote, "So many things were lost during the civil rights movement. So many freedoms were lost during the civil rights movement. They shouldn't have been lost." So he's out here kind of
See, I just have to wonder what possible freedoms he could be referring to.
I don't know.
I gotta know the
Well-
freedom to not be able to use certain water fountains.
Yeah.
Like-
Well, and he's out here saying like I shouldn't have civil rights. You know what I mean?
Jesus, like I'm sorry, but I think literally only freedoms were gained.
Yeah.
The only freedom that was lost, there were no freedoms that were
Yeah.
lost. It was explicitly a pro-freedom movement.
Well, here, this might be a clue. He also criticized the practice of doing sit-ins. He said it was anti-free market to demand somebody serve you and that you should just go to some other place.
Isn't that not what a sit-in is?
A sit-in would be like you go in and like demand to be served and refuse to leave if they try to kick you out.
But like, isn't that the point? It's like, you know that you're not going to be served. Like, the point is not to get the service. The point is to show others that they're not serving you because of your race or
Yeah,
whatever
segregation,
you're protesting.
right.
Like, it's a protest. You can't say that this is anti-free market. Jesus
Well, and
Christ.
he blamed the practice of sit-ins on, or he blamed the practice of sit-ins for black businesses losing profit during that time because he was like, "Oh, they want to go to white establishments." And it's like, or they just didn't have as much money.
Oh, so he is absolutely positively just a libertarian.
Anti-civil rights,
He's
yeah.
one of those, well, naturally, libertarian, anti-civil rights. It's on a line.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's a straight line. But he's one of those guys that's like, oh, freedom of association. You shouldn't be forced to have to associate with minorities. That's nuts.
It's also funny because he's called MLK a communist, Martin Luther King. He's called him a communist.
Yeah.
And he said he doesn't like any communist no matter what their skin color is, which is pretty awesome. But then it's even funnier because Donald Trump, when they did like a rally together, he got endorsed for lieutenant governor or whatever.
Okay.
Donald Trump said he reminds me of Martin Luther King. So Mark Robinson must have been pissed. And Trump just thought of the first black person he knew from history and was like, that's him. Number six. Did Mark Robinson say during a sermon, quote, "There's no reason anybody anywhere in America should be telling my child about transgenderism, homosexuality, any of that filth. And yes, I call it filth. And if you don't like that filth, if you don't like that I call it filth, come see me and I'll explain it to you."
I don't think it's him. I don't think he's a preacher. Is he?
Well, he said that in a sermon in 2021.
Damn.
Decent. Low-key ahead of low-key ahead of the curve on the trans panic.
Oh, he's about it.
A trailblazer, if you will.
Principled. Yeah, he is principled anti-trans.
Number 7, did Mark Robinson say, quote, "If you were shocked by the moral lapses at the Super Bowl, you ain't seen nothing yet. Experts project that homosexual marriage is the dark harbinger of chaos and sexual anarchy that could doom even the strongest republic."
Yeah, he did say that.
That was actually Speaker of the House Mike Johnson in 2004.
I was thinking that the last one would have been Mike Johnson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was Mike Johnson in 2004.
Damn.
That's great. He's been on it.
Damn.
And that was, we did one of these games for Mike Johnson. He put that in an op-ed.
And see, gay marriage didn't happen till way later than that. So Mike Johnson also principled.
Yeah. He's standing on business
shit.
for sure. Almost done. Number 8. Did Robinson say, quote, "We are called to be led by men. God sent women out when they had to do their own thing, but when they did their own when it was time to face down Goliath, he sent David, not Davida, David, not mommy Moses, daddy Moses."
He said that.
Yeah. It's totally
Facebook?
I think that might have been an interview where he said that.
An interview.
It's women that shouldn't be leading. Men need to be leading because it's David, not Davida.
That's so bars, bro.
Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. You know what I'm saying?
David, not Davida, that's crazy. And then to just immediately like lose all the sauce and say daddy knows Moses, not mommy Moses.
Yeah.
That's damn, bro.
I think we should end these last two on a very fun topic: mass shootings.
Oh, nice.
In regards to mass shootings, did Robinson say, quote, "People say, well, I just can't believe we're having all these mass killings, and I can't believe that people are so mean. Our own government is promoting the murder of infants. People talk about karma all the time. Do you think that that's not swinging back around in this society, and that people are seeing how human life is being devalued through all these murdered infants?"
Hell yeah, he said that.
Yeah, talking about abortion. He said mass shootings happen because of abortions.
Oh my God.
This guy's a candidate for governor.
He already has been a lieutenant governor. He's already held position of power.
Yeah, he's not a nobody.
This is North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
What are y'all doing?
Finally, number 10, about Parkland specifically.
Okay.
Did Robinson say, quote, "A spoiled, angry, disobedient child shot and killed 17 of his classmates, and now spoiled, angry, know-it-all children are trying to tell law-abiding adults that we must give up our constitutional right to own certain weapons."
No.
I remember when children knew their place, and when they got out of place and sassy, adults would put them back into it. You think that was Mark Robinson?
I think so.
Yeah, it was Mark Robinson. It was in response to like David Hogg and other people protesting for gun rights.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
He said, oh yeah, a spoiled whatever guy, that's all right. We're not off the deep end yet. Shot up a school. And then to say that the kids that were shot up and the kids that were angry about, facing one of the greatest traumas that you can in modern times said, like, yeah, they're spoiled.
And they should stop. And they should be put in their place.
Oh, you survived a school shooting? You are spoiled.
Yeah.
Spoiled rotten. Oh, my God.
So that's Mark Robinson. And that's, if you live in North Carolina, that's your candidate for governor.
Get out and vote, people.
Yeah. Don't let this guy win. Don't let this guy win.
Everyone knows 2024, it's an election year, right? You know what else is an immutable fact? Wednesday weenies always lose to the weekly news cycle.
You're always behind.
This is even more undeniable in 2024. These primary Iowa caucus happening on a Monday. Super Tuesday, that's in the name. Yeah. Wednesday weenie, again, in the name. If you want to get ahead of the news cycle, you need to head on over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod.
Listen, if you want the news when it happens rather than after it happens, consider becoming a patron. It's a good way to support the show, and it's a good way to stay up to date on everything this year as we deal with this tumultuous election season together.
Wear that Head in the Office patron badge on your sleeve. You can run around always. I'm a patron in the office. I get the news when it happens.
Back to the episode. I think it's time to move on to the State of the Union.
I think so.
Yeah. So State of the Union was held last week on Thursday. It was too long.
Way too long.
Really long.
Who let this guy get up there and yap like that?
We'll go through sort of the biggest hits, the high points, and the certain low points that we'll get to with Joe Biden. He started off talking about Russia and Ukraine, which I thought was strange.
I also think is strange.
Yeah.
I like America first gauge over here, but it's the State of the Union.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't know what voters like this necessarily resonates with when, these only happen every so often.
Yeah.
It's only every so often when you can't watch fucking TV, and every time you turn on the TV, it's just the president yapping. And the first thing he opens with is Ukraine. I feel like, who's that resonating with?
Yeah, and I respect you got to get it in there. Certainly,
Yeah,
it's a point on the agenda, something you want to accomplish, something you.
It's a big issue.
Yeah, like you need funding for Ukraine. I get it. But yeah, to start off with, it's kind of like a lot of people already look at the Ukraine-Russia situation and they're like, why are we giving money to them?
Exactly.
And I don't think that's the right inclination. Obviously, I think we should want Ukraine to win because Russia is insane. But yeah, to start off with I thought it was a little off-putting.
Especially because like the number one issue I'm pretty sure going into this is it's always the economy. It's always going to be the economy. Why aren't we hitting those high notes? And then also, attacking Ukraine onto the end of that one. But
yeah,
maybe that's a nitpick. I don't know.
Yeah, and overall, I think I thought it was a little weird. The only good part about it, I guess, was that he kind of catches Republicans on the back foot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people clapped for it, and if he's saying it during the State of the Union as the first thing, how can you be against it that quickly? You know what I mean? Like getting heckling immediately would have been crazy, but to my surprise, heckling was at a very low.
Until that one guy started just fucking screaming.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he said.
And he got kicked out?
He just screamed something.
And C-SPAN panned to him?
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah. Biden then explicitly called out Trump, and he called for the need for nationwide protection of IVF. I thought this was a good moment. He called out Trump for bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade. He pinned the Dobbs v. Jackson ruling directly on Donald Trump because, to be clear, it was his fault.
Yes.
Abortion, obviously, the best issue for Democrats to run on. Argument is still pretty simple. Send Democrats to Congress. We'll try to codify Roe. Don't know if it'll have the same salience as 2024. Or as I don't think
as the midterms.
I don't know. Yeah, as the midterms. I don't know if it'll have the same salience in 2024. But I suppose it's good that he called it out so early. It's something people are thinking about.
I feel like it might, especially with conservatives not being able to help themselves with just extending to things I never would have thought it got to, like the IVF ruling in Alabama. I feel like it's still got the staying power, but it's like we could. Maybe I'm just bitter. Maybe we could have opened with that.
Yeah. I think opening with that, well, especially, Women's History Month.
Yeah.
I think this was right after International Women's Day, a few days before. I can't remember exactly. I'm a feminist. Don't get mad at me.
Come on.
Bad with dates. But yeah, Women's History Month, he could have called that out and said unprecedented time of attacks on the rights of women to choose, something like this. You know what I mean? Starting off with that, labeling Republicans as anti-choice off the jump would have been good. But to be fair, we often have criticism of Joe Biden saying he's not aggressive enough. He doesn't dunk on Republicans and make fun of them enough like we do. This speech, I will say, he did better than most times. He attacked them a lot.
He kind of ripped some of our talking points.
He did,
This fucking speechwriter's got to have us in our ears, bro.
I'm starting to feel like I should have gotten paid.
Absolutely.
You know what
because
I'm saying?
There were moments during this where he absolutely said the things that we've been talking about for the last almost 3 years, saying that he needs to get out there and do. He needs to get out there and call Republicans out for their bullshit. He needs to just bully them.
Yeah.
Be mean to them. And he did. There was one moment where he was talking about the Trump tax cuts, and he kept talking about the Trump's tax cuts to nail it on them, talking about how, we gave a $2 trillion tax rate to the richest people in the country, yada, yada, yada. We got to do this, this, and that. And then Republicans started booing him for something, or he was talking about Social Security, and he called Trump out for something that he said, I think a couple of days ago, where Trump said, we need to make cuts, easy place to make cuts, Social Security, entitlement programs. Biden called him out on that.
Well, and Republicans always try to do this.
Exactly.
It's not new.
And there was a moment where Republicans started booing after something he said, and he said, you guys don't want a $2 trillion tax cut. That's news to me. That's pretty good then. It's like, shit.
And he got all of them on national TV saying that.
Yeah.
Right? So you can easily clip that into an ad if they later on try to cut Social Security, or if they try to raise or cut taxes on the rich, this sort of thing.
They're explicitly running on cutting Social Security. Donald Trump keeps saying, yeah, Social Security, that shit's cut, despite being Social Security age.
Yeah.
Which is the craziest part about that. But he would never fucking know a Social Security check with all the fucking obscene wealth he has. And then you have like everyone in the House saying, yeah, Social Security's gone. Mike Johnson right behind him saying Social Security's gone.
Yeah, it's sort of in theme with that. He talked about his economic accomplishments. He talked about the CHIPS Act, infrastructure, prescription drugs through, Medicare negotiation and so on. I think it's obviously good to talk about accomplishments. You got to do it, but I do still think it comes across too much as like things are great now.
Yeah.
He later on gets to things that he wants to accomplish, goals that he has, things that would undeniably make the economy better, right? He's doing economic populism, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But when you sort of front the State of the Union with like things you've done, it seems a little bit, and maybe I'm nitpicking, but it seems a little bit too much like you're trying to hand wave away concerns. Again, maybe it's a nitpick. Maybe I'm just being a bit too uncharitable to Mr. Joe Biden.
Yeah, because it's like just running through a list of things you've done can seem like very out of touch without contextualizing them by saying, hey, look, like I know you guys are feeling the squeeze. We're trying to make it better. Here are some things that we're trying to do to take the pressure off of you. And that's a much better way to frame it than just like, things are fucking great right now. Number one GDP in the world, inflation, it never happened.
Yeah, and I think the best way to frame it would be, as you said, a lot of people are struggling. Here's some things that we've tried to do to make the economy better. Some of it is working, but Republicans won't let us do more.
Yes.
Like that's the way you got to frame it. And he sort of gets there, but not completely. I also think this theme that he was pushing that when America gets knocked down, we get back up is funny. I think it sells, but I think it's funny because it's like strongest country in the world. You know what I mean? Like
getting knocked down.
Yeah. We do the knocking.
Sure.
Richest nation in the history of the world. Like, what are you talking about? It's just funny. Speaking of goals, though, he talks about capping insulin for everybody, not just on Medicare, to $35. He talked about capping all prescription drugs for $2,000 for everybody per year, protecting the Affordable Care Act, talked about tax credits, some housing reforms, talked about how 1.7 million new housing units have been built, or he wants to build them. I can't remember exactly. Or they're in progress, something like that. Cracking down on landlords. But
he wants to trust bust landlords.
That was sort of vague to me because it seems like an easy thing to say.
Yeah.
He's pulling out the Chairman Mao, but like I don't know that he's actually
exactly, because it's like, are you going to trust bust landlords? Are you going to trust bust the guys that like own whole city blocks?
Yeah, please.
Please.
I mean, make my rent go down. We need some competitive pricing in the city, dog. I swear.
Absolutely.
I swear it's paying too much. It's not worth that much.
It's not. I'm telling you.
Talked about some education reforms, tax reform, and that's where we got the moment where he's kind of dunking on Republicans. He did, as you said, he did the sort of call and response with Congress, like, do we need another tax break? I thought that was a good moment.
I do think it's kind of, he talked about the $35 a month capped for people on Medicaid, right? And how he's like, I gave Medicaid the ability to negotiate prescription drug prices. But I feel like that's good, and I think it's a good thing that he hit on, but I guess like my kind of broader critique of that is, doesn't the government pay the difference?
I think so.
Like we're not actually like getting at the root of the problem, which is the insane amount of greed that Eli Lilly has when it comes to pricing insulin, and that these drug companies have when they're pricing their things. We're just kind of throwing money at the issue when we don't really need to. I think we need the government to be able to negotiate with the drug companies on how big their profit margins can be, rather than just paying the difference.
Yeah, and I think to some extent Medicare negotiating drug prices does drive the cost of the program overall down.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, there's still like some amount the government is sort of just paying out to pad the profits of these corporations. Of course, it doesn't help when the problem is capitalism. The problem is medicine being a sort of commodity, right? The thing to be bought and sold. And Biden keeps fucking repeating, look, I'm a capitalist. Like, shut up, dog. Like, all the things you're advocating for, and I know he's a liberal, a neoliberal, but all the things he's advocating for pushes directly against what capitalism would desire.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if we could admit that we need to sort of regulate everything a little bit more, and that state intervention is in a way against the will of capital, then I think we could get a little bit further. But like, it's just not for the liberal brain to comprehend.
Because it's like I would rather my tax dollars not go towards padding the Eli Lilly CEO's paycheck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd rather we just step in and tell them you absolutely cannot have like a 4,000% profit margin or whatever the fuck it is. You know what I mean? There's also another thing. I did like what he had to say about having an educated workforce.
Yeah.
There's this moment where he was talking about how he met with some business leaders.
Oh, not us though.
Not us. Yeah, I know. Can you fucking believe that? We're representative of small businesses across the country.
Yeah.
But anyway, he met with business leaders and they were complaining about his rhetoric around increasing spending in education, to which he said businesses used to educate people so that they could meet the demands of their jobs. Nobody does that anymore, which is a genuine problem in the labor market today. So many jobs expect you to have all of the training and qualifications and certifications or whatever the fuck you need going into it, rather than understanding that they need to kind of train you up so you can be the best within that company. Every company does things differently, yada, yada. Needless to say, this is very true. But he then goes on to say, quote, "Why are you angry at me for providing you the best educated workforce in the world?" And I feel like that is absolutely just like A+ rhetoric, especially when applied to, I think he was talking about funding universal pre-K. Things like that, which is just demonstrably good.
Yeah, free childcare, stuff like that.
I think it's kids who go to preschool are 50% more likely to graduate high school.
He said something about hearing like, 100,000 or a million more words before you get to elementary school.
Kids who go to preschool hear a million more words, helps language development. You know, it's good.
Human brain development, yeah.
Exactly. Very good thing. So like in the context of funding like universal pre-K, he mentioned summer lunch programs, other lunch programs, just good things within schools that will cost money to fund, and why you business leaders should appreciate this, because an educated workforce is a good workforce. A+ rhetoric. However, I think we can do a little more to apply this to college, because this is everything we've been saying about student loan forgiveness. We have proven time and time again that this financial barrier is getting in the way of people getting a greater education
and growth of the economy,
of the American workforce becoming more educated, becoming more able to meet the demands of these complex jobs. We can absolutely say the same thing for student loan forgiveness, and we can kind of, if we were doing that, if he was willing to do that here, we could begin to kind of shift away from, oh, you're just a lazy gender studies degree liberal who doesn't want to pay for what you should have paid for, and then move more towards to framing student loan forgiveness as a investment in the American economy, which is something that it is.
Oh yeah, objectively,
which is the truth. We can adopt the conservative framing of being pro workforce, pro all of this, but in earnest.
Yeah, well, and it's crazy because even if you do all of this, it's still not like socialism. You know what I mean? This straight up would help American capitalists.
This could be a purely capitalist thing.
Yeah, their tax bill would be higher, as it should be, but they would also be making more in profit because the workforce would be more educated, meaning they'd be more productive.
Investments, businesses love those. This is not communist. This is not Karl Marx.
Keynesian economics.
Exactly.
They just don't like that they would be taxed more and that the working class wouldn't be squeezed as much. Because when they're not squeezed as much, you can't bump up the price of fucking cereal.
Because I think a little bit after this, or maybe later on in the City Union, he also proposed, was it a 21% minimum corporate tax?
Up from 15. That was his last proposal, was 15, and now he wants 21.
Which, gas.
Yeah.
Gas.
6% improvement.
Bring that shit up to the fucking 35.
100. Take it all. Take it all. Yeah, that was good. I thought the 21% thing was good. And it was also good to see Mike Johnson just shaking his head.
He's shaking his head. He shaked his head at that, too. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. We can also reframe the idea like surrounding taxes too, especially when it comes to corporate taxes, because corporations are not people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We can take the idea that like taxing a corporation is an investment. It's an investment into the American economy and workforce. Like,
and like the philosophical idea behind taxing corporations is that they benefit from so many things in society that they don't pay for, whether it's like access to police departments or access to roads, being able to use railways and this sort of thing. Using supply chains that are set up and sort of facilitated by the U.S. government, they should pay more than anybody else, corporations and the people that run them, because they're benefiting from society's resources more than anybody else.
Absolutely.
And also, it's a sort of social contract, right? Like if you want to live in and benefit from society, you pay into the pot that is used to fund collective resources that everybody uses. It's like society 101.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Dare I say, it's an almost intuitive idea.
Yeah.
And then I think he had another great thing that he said when he said there are 1,000 billionaires in America with their average, what they pay in taxes. The average is about 8.2%.
That's crazy.
I pay 12% on my income from my job.
I'm about to pay an insane amount on what we make from this podcast.
We pay 30% on what we make from the pod because of self-employment taxes.
Yeah, savings are gone, baby.
What the fuck, man? And you're telling me people with billions of dollars, billionaires, billionaires, pay 8.2%? What is going on?
Trust me, like, we did our business accounting, you know what I mean? Like, we did deductions and all of this stuff. But even that, like, us just being two dudes does not add up to nearly what, like, Amazon can do.
Exactly.
It's literally not something you can do unless you are that wealthy.
God damn,
it's just not accessible.
Insane. Just absolutely insane. I think that's a great point to hit, because he also connected that to nurses, teachers, social workers, whatever. They pay a higher tax rate than these billionaires, which is something that should blow all of your minds.
Yeah. He also said a raise for teachers, which I thought was good.
Yes.
It's always good rhetoric to say we should pay teachers more because they are disastrously underpaid as sort of public workers.
And I guess it helps, and I guess he's so good on education, especially like K through 12 education, pre-K as well, because Jill has her doctorate in education or something like that.
She's a teacher.
Dr. Biden.
Exactly.
No, you can't call her doctor. That's misleading.
She doesn't study medicine. Also, on the economy, there's this really funny moment where he talked about the number of chips that are in a bag now.
Oh, no, that was great. He was talking about shrinkflation.
Shrinkflation, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was gas. And honestly,
put the fucking chips back, Jack.
This whole section was gas.
Yeah.
He was so good. He mentioned, like, Snickers, too, didn't he?
They're smaller.
He's like, Snickers, they're smaller now. What's going on?
Which, like, it's like, you know, Joe Biden, disingenuous maybe on a lot of things related to foreign policy, but I think he really is pissed off when he opens a bag of chips and there's less than he wants. He's like, what the fuck?
He opens the Lay's and he's like, it's just air.
Yeah.
It's just air. What's going on?
Or, yeah, he opens the Snickers and he's like, "This shit is tiny." And then he remembers he's president and he's like, "Oh wait, I can fix this."
This is when I was younger. The chips used to fill the whole fucking bag. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then he Googles it. He's like, "Oh, shrinkflation. I'm going to talk about this in the State of the Union."
And he did. And it was a good moment.
And it was good. No, I think this whole like economy section, all of this rhetoric was genuinely kind of like phenomenal. It far exceeded my expectations for what he was going to do. And bringing it to a more broader look at the State of the Union in its totality, in its long totality, I think Biden himself did a much better job than I expected when it comes 100%. To just being old.
Yeah.
They must have pumped this guy full of drugs.
Oh, yeah, macro dose of Adderall. It was crazy. Mega dose.
100% mega dose of Adderall.
Yeah, because the question becomes like, you know, he's doing so well in this. We'll talk about some flubs in a moment, but, you know, he did generally good, especially on the economy stuff, because he's straight up doing like economic populism, and it was delivered fairly well. He's cracking jokes, making fun of Republicans, good performance overall. If he can do this, why aren't they having him do it regularly? At rallies or at campaign stops, or just when like he's unveiling like a new bridge that he funded or something like that. And you got to think it's because he can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's either that or they're just like dumb, but I got to believe that they know a sort of, especially after Obama, a president that can speak really well is one that can win, because when you can speak well, when you can convey a message, it's effective.
And he was like,
but Biden,
he was a funny fucking guy too.
Yeah.
He was cracking jokes.
Biden can't do that persuasively a lot of the time, but in the State of the Union, it was good. There's a reason there's a reason Republicans are like, the takeaway from Republicans isn't that like he had gone woke or that it was a horrible message or anything. The takeaway is like, oh, they must be cheating somehow. He must have taken heroin or something crazy.
Fucking Biden clone.
Yes.
They pumped him full of the adrenochrome.
Yeah, their takeaway is like, we've been duped. We've been tricked. Like, where's Sleepy Joe?
Like, I also think there's kind of like a misunderstanding when it comes to that, because the flubs that Biden has, I feel like aren't as prevalent as conservatives make them out to be, as the media makes it out to be. I feel like he's often like this, especially in his smaller appearances. I think it was when he was meeting with auto workers.
You think he's like how he is in the State of the Union?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't think it's as energetic as that, as like fiery, but I think he's more like regularly mellow and kind of functioning, kind of like at a decent pace. But even with his performance at the State of the Union, I don't think he's ever beating the old allegations. I think he could be white Obama for the rest of the campaign, and he still wouldn't be able to beat the allegation that he's mentally unfit for office.
Yeah, and whoever's doing his Botox is not doing him any favors.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like the skin mask is tough to look at. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, and he's old and he's got to find a way to like look young. Not look young, but look not as old.
Look not 82.
Yeah, and I get it. Plastic surgery, it's a thing people do, but it just doesn't look good. I don't like it.
No.
Yeah.
And it's like the well is just so poisoned when it comes to Biden being old. Let's just not, like, the media needs to just stop trying to make him seem young.
Yeah, and I think they're pivoting away from that because at the end of the speech, he was like, look, I'm old. I get it.
This is true.
I've been around a long time. When I was a senator at 29 or whatever, they didn't let me in the elevator.
Oh, yeah, he said some shit like, when I was a senator at 20, they said I was too young. Now they're saying I'm too old.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah.
It's not entirely wrong.
True.
Going on to immigration, this is where it almost fell off the rails completely.
Took a 180.
It was bad. He gets to the point where he's talking about supporting the bill that we've talked about several times that is functionally a total capitulation to conservatives, right? Mm-hmm. It gets more funding for Border Patrol. It cracks down on immigration. It gives Biden the ability to just straight up shut down the border. It's basically everything the GOP wants. Border Patrol themselves I think the Border Patrol Union has endorsed the bill.
Yeah.
GOP in the chamber started heckling when he brought this up because I think they know he's basically giving them everything they want, but they can't do it because of Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. And he called them out on that.
Yes.
He said, you guys won't pass this because Trump told you not to.
Yeah.
That was a moment. Like, see, like I can recognize that as a moment while also recognizing that the general context of the bill is just awful.
Well, and the thing is, like, that is the moment. That is the only moment that this bill can deliver.
Yeah.
That is like politically advantageous for Democrats. Other than that, it's fully pushing the Overton window on this issue further to the right and pushing what is acceptable in terms of like right-wing rhetoric and what right-wing policy for immigration. Mm-hmm. This is the only, and maybe this is exactly what they were looking for. Maybe this is like the one moment they wanted to show Republicans sort of being contradictory and not actually being serious about legislating. But that's all this bill can do in terms of like good things for them. And they got that moment. Like, I mean, we've been criticizing them. The bill is fucking awful.
Yeah.
But they got the moment they were looking for.
And the moment itself is good, but like,
how long is it going to last? Yeah.
I don't think the moment will last. I don't think that moment necessarily will resonate with the general voter because when it comes to immigration, much like Biden being old, the well is so poisoned. You know what I mean? Or the people that are against you are purely reactionary.
100%.
They are just against you. They're not necessarily against the policy. They're just against you because if Trump did this, they'd be singing his praises. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Did you ever watch Veep?
I've seen bits and pieces, but I haven't seen the whole show.
I can't remember exactly what they were arguing about, but there's the scene where the vice president, Selena Meyer, she's like in the room and her job is to like negotiate something for like Medicare or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's got like 3 Republican senators, 3 Democratic senators, and they yell for like 10 seconds. And then they're like, okay, now that that's over, I'll cut this, you cut that, and we're good. And they're like, yeah, okay. And it's like, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they just argue with each other. It's sort of fake. And then nothing really changes. Nothing really gets done. But in the case of this, I mean, Biden got the optical moment he was looking for, I guess.
But it's also like, more broadly with the bill, I think this is designed to leech off those Republican voters, those Nikki Haley voters, right?
Sure.
Like it's designed to make voting for a Democrat more appealable, more palatable to the Iowa voter who thinks that immigration is this number one priority, right?
In northern Iowa.
Yeah. Like, this bill is kind of aimed at them. This general shift in rhetoric is aimed at them, but I gotta wonder if that's worth it. Like, is it worth getting those few Lincoln Project guys in expense of all the people you're going to lose?
Yeah.
The young people who really hate this?
And especially because I feel like the typical liberal or left-wing rhetoric on immigration, America's a melting pot. We were a country of immigrants. We were built by immigrants. I feel like that rhetoric is still compelling to people.
Yeah.
Like that as a response to conservatives saying we need to stomp down on immigration, I feel like is still effective. And he can make the argument. Part of the bill and part of the rhetoric he had on the bill wasn't bad because it is true that courts need more funding because if the court system moves quicker, then it's less likely people will try to get in here illegally just to stay, knowing they'll be kicked out if they get a court date. Some of that is correct. The court system definitely needs more funding. A lot of the bill is bad though, and I wonder I don't even wonder. I think it would be more compelling if he said we need more funding for NGOs, courts, and so on. But other than that, we should be compassionate and accept as many immigrants as we can because it helps our economy. America's a melting pot and so on. Like the sort of populist equality rhetoric that the left was supposed to be known for when it comes to this issue.
But then instead of doing that, he bites Marjorie Taylor Greene, and he says he brings up Laken Riley.
Well, for context, Marjorie Taylor Greene gave him a button as he walked in that had Laken Riley's name on it.
Because conservatives have been clamoring about how he hasn't said her name, which we haven't talked about the Laken Riley story, but I guess we will right now.
Yeah.
Because Biden then gets on there, he puts up the pin, and he says Laken Riley was killed by an illegal.
Yes.
Brother.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God, and what are we doing?
Not just that, he follows it up with how many people have been killed by an illegal in the U.S.
What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, crazy.
Just completely just Trump framing, beyond Trump framing sometimes even. Like that is generally psychotic shit.
Low-key worse than what Trump says, which is migrant crime.
Yeah.
And that's already racist and xenophobic, right?
Yeah.
But taking it further and just saying, how many people do illegals kill? It's like, dog, what?
What the fuck, dude? And it's like he can get up there. He can do the thing with the Laken Riley pin. He can say, yes, Laken Riley was killed by an immigrant. This is not the experience of the vast majority of immigrants, though. He can say, yes, we can acknowledge this as a tragedy. This young girl should not have died, and it was wrong that she died. That this whole situation is wrong and bad and awful. But that is not what the vast majority of people who come across the border are coming here to do.
Yeah.
It's just not. And if you're going to talk about it, you have to put it in the context.
All you got to say is that this is obviously a tragedy. Laken Riley was killed by an undocumented immigrant. This is obviously a bad thing that we should work to prevent. But by demonizing this one specific case, or by hyper-focusing on this one specific case, right-wingers or the GOP, Republicans, whatever, are attempting to demonize all immigrants and dehumanize all immigrants. And that's all you got to say.
They're trying to scare you.
Yes. It's straight. Yeah, it's fear tactics.
Like
you know what I mean?
You say that, you can get ahead of all the right-wingers who are coming after you for not talking about the story. You can talk about it, and then you can shut them up by putting it in context.
Yes.
Like, that's... What are we doing, man?
And it's not only that, right? I think Biden went on MSNBC, some interview afterwards, and he walked this back. And he kind of apologized, saying, like, I shouldn't have used the word illegal. They were an undocumented immigrant. I shouldn't have said illegal. But even if you say that, he still said how many people are killed by an undocumented.
And it's like,
you know what I mean? Like, it's the same rhetoric.
Even just bringing it up without context is just bad.
Yeah.
It's just bad in general because you're feeding the right-wing framing. And now you're platforming this to even more people.
Yeah. And, we've gone into the stats before, but we'll take a little dive in. The answer here to his question, how many people are killed by an illegal, is a lower proportion compared to those killed by U.S. citizens, according to the state of Texas, from 2012 to 2018. Illegal immigrants committed homicide at a lower rate than U.S. citizens and legal immigrants. In fact, U.S. citizens in the same period of time in Texas had higher property crime, drug violation, and violent crime rates. And of violent crimes, they committed assault, arson, robbery, burglary, and theft more often than legal and illegal immigrants.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And people on TikTok and other social media platforms have tried to call us out and say it's disingenuous because we're using numbers before the current quote-unquote migrant wave that we're seeing. And supposedly these rates have shot up under Joe Biden. First of all, we have data that suggests from 2012 to 2018 that it's just not the case that immigrants commit more crime than non-immigrants.
Yeah, I don't think that these immigrants that are coming over right now are just particularly more evil than other immigrants.
Military-aged men in shape. They're kind of hot. Washboard abs. I kind of want to kiss them.
Holy shit, man. Whoa.
So we have data to suggest that immigrants don't commit crimes disproportionately higher than U.S. citizens. And the way we do social science is that we have a baseline. You got to prove the baseline wrong in order to make a claim. And because Joe Biden's been president for the last 3 going on 4 years now, you have to find data within that time period that would suggest that the crime wave has fucking struck America because of immigrants. And you don't have that data because it doesn't exist. So you can't prove the point. And I'm using available data. You're just guessing based on narratives.
And the data that does exist for the current day, I'm pretty sure paints a different picture.
Yeah.
I think crime right now in New York is down.
Yes.
Despite the waves of immigrants that have reached New York because of fucking Greg Abbott and other people busing them there.
Yeah, and this isn't to say that like U.S. citizens are more inherently criminal, right? Like I'm not making the argument that like no, it's actually U.S. citizens that are more inherently criminal, not illegal immigrants. It's just I reject this idea, and you should too, based on the data, that illegal immigrants commit like a ton of crime. It's not the case. We don't have the evidence to support that claim. It's just not there.
And you know,
and Biden platforming that is crazy.
As the president of the United States, I would expect you to be responsible for actually talking about that data.
Yeah.
Especially when this is one of the biggest things that people have been wedging against you.
Yeah.
God.
Kind of getting to the end of Joe Biden's portion here, he talked about labor laws, gave some lip service to bills that he wants to pass, like expansions to voting rights, climate change, gun control, and then he finally got to what we had all been waiting for, Israel and Gaza. It was about as bad as I expected, I think.
It was shorter than I expected.
It was, well, I think he knows that people don't fucking like his position. Even Republicans want a ceasefire at this point. Like 60, 70% of Republicans are pro ceasefire.
Really?
Yeah. So like he's appealing to literally nobody but, I don't know, AIPAC lobbyists, I guess. And Netanyahu himself, who isn't a U.S. voter.
Who hates him also.
Yeah. He called on Israel. He basically said, like, you know, sworn duty to protect Israel and so on. He called on Israel to allow in more aid, to take more measures to protect civilians. And he said he wants to work towards a two-state solution, but, you know, anybody could say that. I could say that. Doesn't fucking mean anything. This was a funny moment. The camera panned over to Antony Blinken, Secretary of State. Bro looked angry as hell.
Oh, man.
Did you see that?
I didn't know.
It panned over while he was saying two-state solution. Antony Blinken looked like he was seeing God or the devil or some supernatural
figure. It looked like all the negotiations just fell through in that moment. In his head, he's running through all the possible futures.
He's like, what the fuck, bro? Why are you saying this? This wasn't approved. And then the thing that surprised me from this section, the sort of ending section, or the last major issue we talked about, was that he said that we should build, or he wants to build a pier in Gaza, like a sea pier on the Mediterranean Sea,
like for ships to dock.
Yeah, to deliver humanitarian aid directly to Gazan citizens so they don't have to like go through Israel with trucks and stuff like that. And he said no U.S. troops will be on the ground in Israel. Besides the logistic issues, like how the fuck do we build a pier without U.S. troops doing it? Like Hamas is not going to build a pier for us.
Are we going to commandeer a pier?
Like I don't know who's building the pier if it's not literally U.S. personnel. Besides the logistical issues, I'm highly skeptical of this.
I am too, because I
don't know
feel like
about
you
that.
can't put besides the logistical issues, besides the logistical issue of one, building the pier.
Yeah.
How do you distribute the aid?
Yeah.
Say you commandeer a pier in Gaza, the one pier that may be left. I don't know, whatever. You're coming in through the Mediterranean. You dock your U.S. ships. Like, how do you distribute it if you don't want boots on the ground?
Yeah.
How do you know that Israel won't try to stop you from getting the ships in? What do you do if Israel tries to stop you from getting the ships in?
Yeah. What, are we going to fight Israel?
Are we gonna have a conflict there? Like, what's there are so many things with this that could go wrong.
I mean, maybe we make the UN do it. Like we have the UN personnel like build a pier and then deliver the humanitarian assistance, and it's on our dollar. Well, right. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like is the IDF going to be like, no, you can't bring that in?
Can we guarantee that Israel won't blow it up?
Yeah.
Like, oh, Hamas was in the U.S. military.
Hamas sunk a fucking enormous freighter ship with humanitarian aid on it.
Hamas sunk the USS Liberty or some bullshit.
I'm highly skeptical of this. Some people have taken it to extreme, saying like, oh, the U.S. wants to build a base in Gaza. I don't think that's what's happening.
A bit ridiculous.
Yeah, that's you're doing a little bit much with your anti-imperialism. I just think it's the sort of thing that your foreign policy team cooks up when you don't want to come out as anti-Zionist, or you aren't anti-Zionist, but you want to seem like you're doing something. I don't know how you accomplish this. I'm skeptical if it'll work. I feel like it'll just be a disaster.
Yeah, it's not happening. Frankly, like I'm willing to just say that right. I don't think it's happening.
I took like 6 months to get airdrops.
So much easier to just airdrop things in, by the way.
Well, it's less efficient though.
I know airdropping is less efficient, but to say we don't got the bread for it is crazy.
Yeah.
To say we don't have the bread to just pew, 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 you know?
Yeah. He ended off with some more geopolitics, China, Iran, fentanyl, and so on. It was a decent ending, like he did his last section talking about how he was old. We already talked about that. And unless I missed it, nothing on the LGBTQ at all.
He said one thing. It was kind of near the end. He just said, "Trans people, I stand with you."
Oh, okay.
And that was it. He kind of slipped it in there.
A one-liner?
Yeah,
okay.
one-liner. Yeah.
But just trans people though. None of the other
trans
LGBT.
people, gay, no, he's a anything but turf. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's like, we do need to separate the T.
He's like, yeah, you know what? The T should be separate, and I only fuck with the T.
Yeah. Contrarian position.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So maybe it's not a major issue, he thinks, but I mean, doesn't hurt to talk about it a little bit because Republicans are pretty anti-LGBTQ.
All over the place. Like he could talk about it a little bit more. I
would have whipped out a quote from the Mike Johnson op-ed in 2004. I would have been like, the guy right behind me said this about LGBTQ Americans. Could you?
That would have been sick.
Exactly.
That would have been it. Like, what's stopping him?
And bust that out like 20 minutes into the speech, and then for the next hour, he's just got to sit there,
festering. He's embarrassed,
seething. Yeah,
sit there like,
hey man, I'm just reading your written word.
No, that'd be sick. That would be fucking sick. There was a moment earlier that I forgot to talk about, and it was when he started talking about auto workers, and he kind of framed it in the context of
Sean Fain was there. I forgot to say that.
Yeah, he framed it in the context of I think it was an Illinois factory that was about to close down, and he's like, yada, yada, yada. With the strength of the UAW under my administration, we were able to keep these good paying jobs these people did not lose their jobs despite fearing them because of the work that Sean Fain did. Camera showed Sean Fain. He standed up and he was just kind of highlighting his labor wins, and I thought that was very important.
Good moment, yeah.
Very good moment.
And Sean Fain's doing him a major solid by showing up. He does not have to.
Because they haven't endorsed him yet.
They did. The Teamsters didn't.
Oh, Teamster, the guy that got in trouble for being racist?
Racist and corrupt, yeah. But that's a union boss. What do you expect from me? I mean, that kind of comes with the territory. Sean Fain is the exception.
Sean Fain is sick. Marxist-Leninist Sean Fain.
Yeah. Resurrecting Marx, saying billionaires shouldn't exist.
Exactly. He fucks.
He fucks. Overall, pretty good speech. The one thing we can say definitively is that it certainly wasn't bad for him. Yeah. He exceeded expectations. He talked about a lot of issues. He had some really good messages. The Republicans did not heckle him very much. Overall, a win. Certainly did not take any hits from the State of the Union.
No, yeah. It was just he far exceeded my expectations. I was kind of just blown away.
Yeah,
sitting in awe halfway through, oh my god. Burr. It's a bit chilly up here in the north, but. I know we have a lot of viewers down south in the warmer climates, to say the least. And, you might need some drip to walk around in this new year, 2024.
Exactly.
And, if you need some, we got some. Head on over to headintheoffice.com to check out our wonderful merch drops. You got the Indictment collection, the Indictment Era collection. You can go on over, look at our previous drop. We got great t-shirts going on.
Great t-shirts. And if you don't even want something to wear, maybe you don't want to wear a t-shirt, you can get a hat to put on your head.
A little cap.
That's important to keep the sun out of your eyes.
In the winter months.
Exactly. Or maybe you can get a sticker sheet to put some pictures of us or some Hiddo iconography all over the things that you want.
Wrap it on your water bottle.
And not only do you get some beautiful merch, but you also help out the show.
Exactly.
And we know all of you want to help out the show.
I know you all want to make us smile and you want to buy our friendship. And we'll be real friends.
Yeah, so head over to headintheoffice.com, support the show, get yourself some merch, and we'll love you. Now we can move on to a much worse speech. Okay, so if you don't know, maybe you're a newcomer to politics or the podcast. Yeah. Every year there is a response from the opposing party to the president's State of the Union. So when Trump was president, every time he did a State of the Union, some Democrat was chosen to do a response video and kind of respond to what the president said, call him out on certain things, whatever. This is no different. Last year, Sarah Huckabee Sanders did the GOP response, which was bad, but not nearly as bad as this one.
No, this one's crazy, bro.
This year, the GOP response was Senator Katie Britt, senator from Alabama, a young woman who did it sitting inside of a kitchen. And I think we could just watch a clip that I got.
We could just go for it, really.
It's about a minute long. There were so many moments I could have clipped from this response video.
It was a performance.
But this was this one was maybe my favorite portion. So let me boot this video up and we can take a look together.
Let's go.
I'll never forget stopping at a gas station in Chilton County one evening. The gentleman working the counter told me that after retiring, he had to pick up a job in his 70s so that he didn't have to choose between going hungry or going without his medication. He said, I did everything right. I did everything I was told to do. I worked hard. I saved. I was responsible. he's not alone. I hear similar concerns from fellow parents, whether I am walking with my friends or whether I'm at my kids' games. But let's be honest, it's been a minute since Joe Biden pumped gas, ran a carpool, or even pushed a grocery cart. Meanwhile, the rest of us see our dollar and we know it doesn't go as far. We see it every day. And despite what he tells you, our communities are not safer.
She's not winning an Oscar with that late entry.
It's crazy. It sounds
not
like,
happening.
Oh my God. It sounds like she's on the edge the whole time.
Yeah.
If you're picking up what I'm putting down, it sounds like she's about to cry or something else. Oh my God.
Never let an obscure theater kid turned Republican senator ever give a speech like this ever again.
It was
like
crazy.
It was like the guys, you're gonna want to see this type shit.
Guys, well, actually,
he's right behind me, isn't he?
She's speaking in dub. She's speaking in dub. That's crazy.
It was so bad. And I feel like this sort of, this was a theme throughout her whole 17-minute speech. I feel like the whole, like, I'm just like you nonsense does not work when you're a senator. No, especially from Alabama.
Especially because she also opened it up with, yeah, my parents were two small business owners, owned a hardware store and a dance studio. Mm-hmm. Not fucking me.
She also told a story at one point about someone who had been sex trafficked by a Mexican cartel, I think. But the thing that she doesn't tell you is that this person that was sex trafficked is now an activist.
Yes.
And was sex trafficked between 2004 and 2008
during the
when
Bush
George
administration.
W. Bush was the president. She suggested that it was because of Joe Biden that this happened. It didn't even happen in the United States.
No, she used this. She used this either to say that Joe Biden is actively responsible for this one instance, or to just say that therefore, because this person was sex trafficked in Mexico.
Yeah.
That all Mexicans are bad.
Yeah, that was sort of the implication. Otherwise, if those aren't like if that's not what she was trying to do, then she literally brought it up for no reason.
Which is just crazy, bringing up something that didn't even happen in the United States.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing? And then she goes on to say something like, we wouldn't even be okay with this if it was a third world country. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
If this happened in a third world country, we wouldn't be okay with it. Yeah? Yeah, sure,
fucking
yes.
Aristotle over here pitching some new philosophy. Think she's a fucking original thinker? Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, we're okay with other bad things happening in third world countries, but this, no. Therefore, all these immigrants are bad.
Yeah, it was a crazy speech. And also, if you're not watching on video, the whole thing was framed as her being in the kitchen because woman senator.
Yes.
Republicans got to put her in the kitchen, right? So she was sitting in the kitchen, and the whole idea behind it was like, this is the table that I sit with my family at to talk about important issues.
Kitchen table discussions.
That shit was so fake.
Oh my God, yeah.
100% not her own home. That was an empty house.
They also definitely picked her because she literally just has a nuclear family.
Yeah.
She literally, it's just, it's the heterosexual couple with a daughter and a son.
Yes,
it blew my fucking mind.
Yeah. It was awesome. The husband's huge, though.
Oh, he used to play football.
I was going to say, I think
pro baller.
Hey, Matt, what can I say?
But now I think he's a lobbyist.
Well, maybe he got CTE. I don't know.
That's definitely the you know the pro ball to conservative pipeline. Definitely too many hits to the head.
100%.
Definitely.
It's a dangerous sport. It's a dangerous sport.
It's a dangerous sport, so we should not take those people seriously.
But anyway, I thought the response video was dog shit.
Oh my God,
it was so bad.
Oh my goodness.
Funny though.
It's
Real
also funny that she invokes that story of like the 70-year-old who has to pick between fucking medicine or food.
Oh yeah,
that's why he's got to work like post-retirement.
That's your fault
as a conservative senator.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't find much as to like her voting record because she's pretty new. She got voted in 2023. She hasn't done much. She hasn't been around for too many consequential things. But like, I'm sure she didn't fuck with the child tax credit. She framed this whole thing as like, oh, I'm a mother. Like, it's so hard for mothers, like, as the mother of this family. Like, but you out here making it harder for every other mom everywhere.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have voted down increases to the minimum wage. I'm sure you would have been against Medicare negotiating drug prices. You would have been against the insulin cap at $35.
Most definitely against the child tax credit.
Oh, like, no doubt. That's a handout.
You would have literally taken money away from mothers across the country.
Yeah. I thought the framing was excellent, and I had never heard of her before. This is her debut for me.
And it's Same. It's also just so funny that I feel like this wouldn't have really got any traction if it wasn't for the insane overacting.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit, man. Who approved that?
Even Republicans didn't like it. They thought it was creepy, yeah.
How could you? She's, me and my family. Sounds like a bad Joker impression.
Yeah, she's like, I sit around the table with my family and we talk about how much we love America. And the soil of this country is tainted by the blood of unpatriotic America. Like, it's just insane shit.
And I just love my family. But these immigrants, they come over the border.
They're poisoning the blood of America. It's just crazy. The way she would just switch up emotion, she would have a full teeth smile switch to a fucking frown and death
all
stare.
Fake, completely fake, dude. Man, it was good. It was good.
It's just, once again, Republicans that should be in entertainment for some reason find themselves in politics.
I know.
Her and Trump go make
goodness.
TV series.
She
dog.
clearly wanted to be an actress.
Yeah. Trump literally was an actor in Home Alone.
This is true.
WWE, go back to doing that, man. You're funnier. Could have been good. Moving on to some extra news to end the episode.
Oh yeah.
So we got a couple of news stories here. Let's do first, since we just talked about the State of the Union, George Santos was there. And not only that, he's also running for New York's 1st congressional district, which he could win because New York did redistricting to help Republicans.
George Santos making a comeback in 2024. That's exactly what I wanted
Santos
to see.
Mentum, yeah.
Oh my God,
I'm so happy.
Man, that's so good.
He represents us.
I hope he steals from more Republican donors.
Every dollar he gets is a dollar stolen.
And that's good.
He's using it on OnlyFans content creators.
Yes.
He's using it on personal expenses, paying down his own debts, which I understand.
That's a burden.
That's a burden.
He's literally redistributing wealth.
I gotta respect it.
Bro is Mark. Bro's Karl Marx.
He's Karl Marx. Yeah, Mark would be proud. Our boy Mark. So George Santos is returning. He was at the State of the Union because apparently expelled members can still show up to the House for events and stuff like that. They still have floor privileges.
Why?
It's just written into the rules somewhere.
As written.
Yeah, as written. As written.
It's fucking George
Stilgar, bro. George Stilgar.
He will come back to the floor during the State of the Lisan Al-Gaib.
Yeah, imagine they're all screaming Lisan Al-Gaib at George Santos. I mean, he's the Messiah in my mind.
Bro, he's got to be.
The voice from the outer world.
The voice from the outer world.
Come on. Yeah, he's from Brazil, yeah.
From Brazil. He used to steal there, too. Oh, my goodness, man.
So George Santos came back. In more Congress news, might get a TikTok ban. Which would be there. That's pocket watching for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are they trying to do? Trying to fuck with this small business's bag?
Look, I'm making money off the CCP. I'm a real American. You know what I'm saying? Don't.
I would
ban
never
TikTok.
say anything bad about Xi Jinping.
Yeah, no, I got a poster of the emperor in my room. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
No, yeah, the Congress potentially banning TikTok is pretty catastrophic.
No,
and I see,
devastating.
I've seen some leftist creators kind of just saying oh, it's not that big of a deal, and I gotta feel like it's just because they already got a platform. Whereas a lot of other creators, or just people that are generally leftist, hear a lot of good leftist takes on TikTok. And sure, I'm biased, being a personality on the app, but I do think it's a good way of spreading information. Although I understand it's all just padding the profits of whatever company runs TikTok. Same with Instagram, Facebook, and so on. It just feels like there is a pretty decent leftist presence on TikTok. And I kind of, maybe conspiracy theory, maybe I have a tinfoil hat on, I kind of feel like that might be part of the reason they want to get rid of it.
You think so?
Yeah. Or they're more inclined to get rid of it because the leftist voices don't spread as much on Instagram, Facebook, and so on.
Definitely not YouTube. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you that right now. The fucking YouTube comments are crazy.
And TikTok is the easiest platform to grow an audience on.
Yeah, to have a voice on.
Super, super easy. And I got to feel like that's part of the reason. And they'll front the rationale with national security concerns. But come on. I just what are you talking about, man?
I feel like it's also just the natural extent of their xenophobia.
China bad, yeah.
China, just got to get that shit out of here. China is literally molding the hearts and minds of our children. And I feel like in a way you can kind of synthesize that with the anti-leftist sentiment.
Yeah.
Look at all these socialists on TikTok. China.
Yeah. Oh, the Chinese Communist Party.
Chinese communists.
I did hear also pro-Palestine posts and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
Gotta feel like
getting
that's part of the
fucking
reason.
nukes to all hell though,
Yeah.
not getting views.
I also heard that after this news dropped that the House is considering it, apparently a couple of like Republican Congresspeople reported that their phone was just fucking blowing up. Like people from all across the age range, young, old, in between, were just not shut the fuck up. Like, you can't take this from us.
Hell yeah.
Which is like,
can't take my fucking scroll away from me, bro.
dude, that's all I got. That's all we got.
Fucking
That's all we got left.
That's all I got left. When I'm fucking sitting on my lunch break, bro, you can't take that shit away from me.
And this is the issue that pulls America together.
That's right.
It's a unity issue. Joe Biden should run on protecting TikTok. He just joined TikTok. Joe Biden did.
I guess what we're speaking of bills to pass. Mm-hmm. The feds want to protect IVF.
Yeah, well, maybe. We'll
possibly.
See.
Yeah.
Democrats introduced a bill. Republicans have been trying to get away from the accusations that they want to ban IVF, but I'm not sure how this vote will pan out. Maybe they'll take a vote sometime this week.
Introducing the bill is an absolute power move.
Oh yeah,
then you can nail
get him on record.
Any senator who wants to vote against this.
Unless Mike Johnson's like, I'm not introducing this to the floor.
See, very real possibility.
I have some concerns. It allows grooming.
I have
some shit. In the bill, it says you can groom kids.
Exactly.
You can teach them about being gay.
Since they are kids in there, those small, tiny, very tiny embryos.
Alabama.
They are children.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Before we get to the sort of culture war issue.
The most consequential topic.
Yeah, the most important one. There were some SCOTUS decisions that came out, or I guess not necessarily decisions, but just SCOTUS news. The Supreme Court...
SCOTUS took up some cases.
Yeah, the Supreme Court said that they were going to take on the case that was decided, I think, by the second... or the D.C. Circuit Court. I can't remember exactly which one.
Circuit.
They're going to take on the case about Trump's immunity to crimes that he committed during his presidency. The question of this case basically being, can you prosecute a president for laws that they broke while they were president? Insane that they would take this case on. It's legitimately crazy.
It's also, aside from it being legitimately crazy that they're taking this on, is it this case or another case related to Trump's immunity that they're taking on where Jack Smith made an appeal in December saying, hey, I have a feeling this might go all the way up to the Supreme Court. Can you guys just rule on this now so we can get it out of the way? Was that this case?
I think so, yeah.
Either way, they said, no, we're not going to take this up now. They just fucking waited. They're taking it up now, which has the potential to delay Trump's trial past the election.
Yeah, that's the important part.
An absolute layup for Trump that they are taking this up, no matter how they rule, no matter if they rule how they should, by saying that the president is not immune for crimes committed in office.
Which is the correct answer.
Just the fact that they took it up now rather than earlier when Jack Smith asked them to is ridiculous.
I would not be surprised if they wait on this one a while. Put it at the bottom of the pile before they get to any of the others. Also, I think I don't know if this decision came out already yet or if it's coming out soon, but SCOTUS has been deciding on the case about Colorado and the 14th Amendment, where Colorado disqualified Trump from the ballot and said that he can't appear on the general election ballot.
I think they said he has to, or he can.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think they ruled 9-0 that states
9-0. Nice.
States can't just kick Trump off of the ballot.
Which it's like, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that was an issue we were gonna win anyway.
No, for sure. That one was one of the weaker ones, but it's also like states' rights. States' rights.
What happened to you fucking constitutionalists, huh? Federalist Society for what? Oh my god.
And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, but the 14th Amendment doesn't allow states to just enforce it. It's like, well, but states' rights.
Yeah.
Whatever, bro.
States' rights.
States' rights only when it's for a conservative thing, I guess.
This is ridiculous.
And the last little piece of news, maybe the most important one.
Absolutely the most important one.
Sydney Sweeney ended wokeness
by appearing on SNL. I don't understand where this came from. I have no idea what conservatives were trying to latch onto here.
I think, okay, let me put myself into the shoes of a conservative.
Because if anything, I would think her appearance on SNL would be more woke.
Because SNL's woke.
Not only because SNL's woke, but conservatives love talking about modesty. Like,
oh yeah, good point.
You could say that was an immodest dress. Like, I'm not here like shaming what people are wearing.
Well, and some of them did.
But
some of them were saying that if you like Sydney Sweeney, then it's like you're a liberal degenerate.
Because it's like,
but then a lot of them were saying she ended wokeness because like a traditionally attractive woman appeared and people were happy about it, and people liked the performance because she got like millions of views on YouTube or whatever.
But it's like, I don't understand what the fucking argument here. Big honkers ended wokeness.
If I could put myself into the shoes of a conservative, scary place to be, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I think what they're trying to say is that liberals have prevented us from thinking what is beautiful, right? They're sort of traditional standards for beauty. They've tried to tell us that like the blue-haired SJWs are what's beautiful. We have to think men in dresses are beautiful, but really what's beautiful is people, blonde hair women with blue eyes and massive honkers. And now that Sydney Sweeney's on SNL, sort of public facing, on a public TV show, getting millions of views, that means wokeness is done because we can finally think hot women are beautiful again.
But it's like, you always could.
But yeah, nobody is ever out here saying like Sydney Sweeney's a fucking ugly hag. Nobody was saying that.
That shit was never taken away from you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand where that argument was that, liberals are trying to absolutely like alter the beauty standard. You could argue that, yeah, we're trying to make the umbrella larger for like what can be considered beautiful because again, it's a cultural thing mostly.
Yeah.
But nobody was ever going to say that someone like Sydney Sweeney is not conventionally attractive.
Right, yeah. A blonde woman in Hollywood,
I don't fucking understand. I was so confused by the discourse.
Also, you could literally make an argument at this point that like Sydney Sweeney is a Hollywood elite, quote unquote, right?
Yeah.
Like she's a millionaire.
And it's also I guess maybe they're latching onto it because I remember there was some controversy like last year where like Sydney Sweeney made like a post with her and her dad had like a Trump shirt on or something and she has like a conservative family. So maybe they're latching onto her as like an icon of conservatism within Hollywood, but that hasn't gone well for any of the people that they've done that to.
Yeah, there's no chance that she comes out as conservative.
Absolutely not.
That would be so fucking funny. Could you imagine? She's like, I'm voting for Trump.
Oh,
that'd be good.
Man.
We would not hear the end of it.
Oh my god.
Oh my! She gets picked for a Daily Wire movie.
She's
That's where she
starring
would
in a
be
movie
relegated
with
to.
fucking the Cowboy, the UFC fighter, and Gina Carano in a movie that made $0.
in Ben Shapiro. Yeah, in a movie they gave away for free because no one's paying for it.
Didn't that movie make like $200?
Oh, it wasn't good.
Oh man,
Lady
that's
Ballers
crazy.
or whatever?
No, not Lady Ballers. The one with Gina Carano.
I forgot that she was. Yeah,
exactly.
Which one was that?
I don't remember.
Yeah, no, she flopped. She could have had a Disney job.
She had a Star Wars job.
She was gonna get her own TV show.
Oh my god!
What, Rangers of the Republic or whatever?
Yeah, and she just could not stop fucking anti-Semite posting.
She couldn't stop comparing conservatives to Jews that were in the Holocaust.
Oh my god!
Because we shouldn't be criticizing each other. Don't criticize your neighbor.
That's crazy. And the Sydney Sweeney stuff is also crazy because it's like, if a liberal woman went out there and was showing cleavage like that,
they'd call her a whore.
They'd call her a whore.
Yeah.
They'd be out here like, I can't believe SNL is doing this. This is not a model that we should be showing women around there. This is not how a woman should act. But I don't know. Is Sydney Sweeney fucking conservative coded?
Well, and think of Taylor Swift, another conventionally attractive blonde woman, who they perceive as liberal, although someone who doesn't really talk about politics all that much. They've like launched investigations against her.
That's crazy.
None of it's real. It's all nonsense.
That's crazy.
It's all nonsense and like entirely reactionary politics. Literally just your emotional based reaction based off what your eyes are seeing, and you're like, oh my god, wokeness is dead because hot woman on TV.
But it's also like, I don't think wokeness will ever be ended on SNL.
Oh,
Saturday Night Live.
No, that's the woke. That's where woke goes to live and breathe, baby.
That is New York liberal the show. Like let's be fucking real here.
And let's be real. We're real here. It's a little corny.
It's a little corny.
It's not where I go to get the funniest jokes or hear the funniest jokes.
I'm not biting material from SNL. I can tell you
I will say Scarlett Johansson's role as Katie Britt was pretty funny. Did you see that?
That was a good one, yeah.
That was she did a good job but most of the time, unless it's like joke swap with Colin Jost, like I don't love SNL.
I don't really tune in. Sometimes I see a funny one on my TikTok, but usually they're from like 15 years ago.
Yeah, well, and you're probably seeing it because it's one of the funny ones.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But look, the point is like Sydney Sweeney going on SNL, I don't think wokeness is dead. In fact, I would say wokeness is more alive than ever.
Living and breathing. You know what? Dare I say she made wokeness better?
Yeah, maybe she's woke.
Oh, I'm so
maybe
much
we'll find
more
out
woke
one day.
now.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out one day.
Goodness.
Who knows? Anyway, that brings us to the end of this painful, awful episode.
Yeah, time to shout out our special woke friends. Someone in the reviews mentioned earlier that we're Hitoheads, we're a family here. You know what I mean? These are like these paying. You could pay to be in our family.
Oh yeah.
These are like our siblings. You know what I'm saying? Our very woke,
our loved ones.
Exactly, our very woke loved ones. Starting with Caden Kraut, Lord Tal the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, 40% Spite, Dylan B, Andrew Harris, Mike Japlinski, Mattias T, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Rich Toro Tari, Gavin Mayer Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, Max Vasquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cuts Veryuk, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfishing, Benneth Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Shapiro's Boyfriend, Jonathan Cassis, Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarlson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Sines, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Tailored for Content, Corey Chambers, Sewer Snack, L.E.N., Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Emma the Dude Slayer, Veronica aka V, Raxon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Flower Clown, Beetlebugs, Murder in a Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, In Hope of Giants, AK Gon, Aquana Don,
Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rensock, Ishi Teddy, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Steak Daddy, Tay Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C, Pab the Pab 69, Kayla Lowe, Anna Valinic, Eduardo Diaz, Casey C, Say Yes to West, August, Particular Pickman, Sir Capalot, Jeff Sines, Howard the Duck, Brennan is Egg, JR, Drew Batchilder, Froggy Gumdrop, Zen doing their best, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, Sasha, MJ is Sharp, Michaela Muncie, The Wallace 3000, Southwest Socialism, Jared Finch, Evil Vegan, Tactical Snowflake, Son of Ander, Vanilla Bryce, Willie Swags, Chris E, Kashan Lala, Amanda R, Hanky Panky, Tyler J, Damian Blues, Real Nurse RN, Ashley White, Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels, Lalo Valesco, Particulon, Memfrez, Gorgeous Girl Mukes, and my mom. And before we say thank you, Gorgeous Girl Mukes, I'm so sorry for missing you last time.
Oh my God.
I promised an apology video with tears.
Most sincere apologies. Sometimes family fucks up.
Yeah, no, we make mistakes, but
at the end
we have
of
a
the
blood
day,
bond.
We're still family.
Yeah.
We are still non-parasocial family. Speaking of non-parasocial, I saw a couple creators on like TikTok this week talk about how I feel like I've like failed at building a community, blah blah blah, because like the parasocial relationship started to get to me. Not us.
That's crazy. Nothing could ever get to me. I just lock in.
Fucking not us, bro. Parasocial relationships, how disrespectful.
Yeah. You fucking underselling what you have with your people.
What I'm saying.
Listen,
all our relationships are real.
Listen, all I'll say, look, maybe we're not blood related, but I will say that the blood of our covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Oh my God,
and
absolutely.
I would never back down from what some perceive as a challenge, but what I perceive as a blessing.
Absolutely. Some would say maybe I'll find ancient coins that used to be associated with me on your lands.
Exactly.
We are one and the same.
I cannot deny our relationship. Thank you all for supporting the show on Patreon. I know we have some new people that join, so if your name is not on that list, comment, DM us, let us know.
We'll
send
apologize.
us an email. Yeah, we'll apologize on the show. We'll spit our shit and we will cry for you. Not into the bowl of Cheerios though, because we got to reviews.
I will not waste my body's water.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're sacrificing it for you. So thank you for listening. Check out the Patreon if you haven't already.
Have a great week.